Upped my coffee game today,
Really?
starting with a Cuban, which is basically rocket fuel. Before I get into the French press, which is high octane, not regular. I don't even do regular anymore, David. Your wife would love a Cuban coffee.
Is it sweet enough for her though?
Yeah, you actually have to put sugar in it, or it's not worth drinking. I use fake sugar. The Cubans use lots of real sugar. If we ever have, meals with people again,
There's
I'll
only
have my
one
wife
way
make
to
one
wake up in the
for
morning.
your wife, and she'll stay up till. Hell, if we got her this at like 6, David, she'd be up till 10.
That's it.
Be a good Friday night for you. Maybe Saturday. Woo, look out. Let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Look at you.
I'm still offended by this open, Moulton, because, you let anybody drive a damn car.
Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote
So hypocritical of you.
Where it's always cool and comfortable.
You're still nervous about me driving over to Miami the one time.
No, I'm fine with that.
The best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this sucker every day, millerandmoulton.com. We broadcast it as well on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channel. Sign up for them. They're free. I mean, there's ways to spend money if you want, and we're good with that too.
Yeah, apparently we find out you can tip us.
Yeah, apparently there's a tip jar on Twitch.
Yeah, and you can give us cash. So we're all for you jumping in there and just start handing us big bills.
Or bits. I guess they call them bits.
I'd rather have big bills.
Just basically give us your loose change.
Are we kind of like that Acorn app I see all the time for stocks, although you're going to get nothing from it but a show for 3 hours?
Right. I think we're that, plastic thing by the register, okay, in which, every business has their charity. All right, just throw your change in.
Okay. All right. I didn't. That's better than what I was thinking. I thought we were the Leave a Penny. Have you been, and I know you don't go out that much, but I still believe you are a cash person as much as you can be.
Yeah, I am. Even during this, in which I have far less cash than I used to have, I try to spend cash.
Right. And have you been, because through all of this, one of the things that's going on is we have a change shortage.
Yes.
So, a lot of places have said, if you can, please use exact change.
Yes, and I am.
I'm not, if I don't have it, but I have been leaving, I'm usually the leave the penny guy, leave the 4 cents.
Yes,
I'm now kind of the leave the anything under a quarter. Just take it in there for the next guy that uses it.
I left 71 cents yesterday. All right. Literally, the register opened up and the lady said, I don't have any change. And I go, you don't have any change? And she goes, no. And I go, well, you need to get some. I go, tell you what, take my 71 cents and you can either spread it out amongst the customers who are all a little short, or you could take it and throw it in your charity thing here in the front. That's fine.
Yeah, I've been doing
more of that. I looked at her, though. I said, 71 cents now.
Of course you did.
You got to.
Did you point like that?
I didn't point.
Okay. Well, I mean, for those watching on Twitch, they see it. For those listening, don't understand. David and I both. I am not at all throwing shade at David. We are whole body talkers.
Yeah, we're pointers.
Well, and I mean whole body. The arms, the shoulders, the head can bob. I mean, Leo Mazzoni, you and I both get going at different times. You are more of a pointer than I am, because when we used to sit next to each other, sometimes that stubby finger would get really close to me and make me nervous.
Right. Well, sometimes it wasn't a polite point either.
No.
Right? We would go at each other and, and another thing. It was almost like the teacher in the front of the class with the pointer,
There's no doubt.
Pointing up at the board going, what do you mean you can't do this equation?
Well, and you talk about the exact change. You must be freaking people out, because there is nothing in today's world that can set any line. Fast food, grocery, restaurant, anything behind quite the way exact change can set anyone behind. Or, it's $15.64 and you give them $26 wanting a 10 back. That just floors today's cashiers because they can't add.
Right. I have to admit, there are times when I'm in one of those moods, and when you said 1564, and let's just say I would give them 2014.
Right. So you get the 450 back.
And to get 450 back.
Right.
Now, but I would do it just to see whether or not, are they going to throw it in and let the machine do it for them? Or are they going to try to figure it out on their own? All right. Also, usually you get a double take.
And a look. Double take. And like, why did you give me so much money?
Why'd you give me the 14? Why didn't you just give me the 20? And sometimes they try to give it to you back. And you go, no. There's a method to the madness. I go, just throw it in.
And you did it very nicely with the 14. When you really get them with that is you give them, 2020. So you're going to get $5.06 back because then they're lost. Then they're absolutely lost. And
that's just messing with them.
Well, no, but if you have 2 dimes, you might have a quarter. You might give them $20.25 because I want a 5 back. I don't want a bunch of ones and a bunch of change. That freaks them out. What used to be fun when I traveled with the Everblades is we all wore those tracksuits. That was kind of the road. You wore basically a sweatsuit. That's what we all had on. And they had the worst pockets. There's not a hockey sweatsuit that I had. Actually, there's one, my first Atlanta Knights one, which I still have, over 20 years old, David, that had a good set of pockets. They were bad pockets. Wallets fall out. Change falls out. So when you went in, you kind of kept your wallet in your jacket, and the change was no good to you because it was going to be in a bunk within 13 seconds of going back onto the bus. So guys would just literally leave all their change on the counter because there'd be 20 of us in line when Bussy's fueling up. We're all getting our Gatorades, sodas, whatever, and the change would just stack up, and the players would just use what was there. You want to confuse a cashier. Have 15 straight people just leaving their change on the counter.
Right.
You want to throw a whole convenience store into a state of flux. Just start dropping change. And they had no idea what to do.
Right. They don't know if there's going to be 3 cents at the end or $6. Right. That's when you're like, really? They have to go to my register? Huh? I don't deserve this. What did I do to deserve this? I get the whole hockey team. Give me a break. Miller and Moulton on this Friday. NCAA decided, now I will say, and listen, we all hate the NCAA. Come on. And in fact, 479-5551 if you don't hate the NCAA. All right? Send us a text if you don't hate the NCAA.
And at least try to explain why.
Yes.
I would like that.
Hopefully because somebody works for them. And so you just want them to stay in business a little while longer because you want this person to keep getting a check. I actually know a young lady who works for the NCAA, and she is a wonderful young lady, all right, who's been through a lot. And I tell her all the time, listen, I'm rooting for you. I like you, would do anything for you. The place where you work, though, needs to shut its doors. I go, so hopefully you're ready to move on to another job. But the NCAA had a method to their madness yesterday, Mark. The Big East, apparently in the morning yesterday, decided, we're not going to be able to compete in the fall. We're not going to play sports in the fall. And once the Big East and the number of schools that are in that conference did that, apparently the percentage of schools that are playing sports or intending to play sports in the fall dipped below 50%. And at that moment, the NCAA said, well, you can't have a legitimate championship if over half the schools aren't playing. And I will say, for a governing body that I think makes it up as they go along, more so than NASCAR and the WWE, that makes sense.
Because you're not even saying which schools are still playing. They just said, hey, it's below 50%. I mean, if you don't have half the sport playing, I mean, is it really a championship? What is it that we talked about? We have 3 of the Power 5. I mean, Mark, let's be honest. Let's just say one of the remaining 3 conferences bails. Big 12's out. It's SEC, ACC, and the AAC. So you've got 3 conferences left out of 10, and you have 2 of the Power 5, although Conference USA is still playing, but you know what
I'm with you. You're fine.
Below 50% in any way you want to measure it, below 10 and below the 5. So would you consider it a legitimate national champion if the Big 12 bails and we're left with 2 of the Power 5s?
Well, David, whether I would or not is largely irrelevant to this conversation. I think the fact of the matter is Alabama would.
Yes.
And if the Football News, Football America, Landry Football, I don't care, whomever hands them a national title, they will accept said national title. And that's really all that matters. And for that matter, David, so will Notre Dame.
Yes.
I mean, I do not want to exclude Notre Dame when I talk about made-up national championships.
No, it's been over 30 years. They definitely take it. They'd let you argue about it. There's no argument in South Bend. This sucker counts.
Absolutely.
Hey, we will have beaten Clemson at least once.
Damn right.
Get into said playoffs.
I don't care if Trevor Lawrence had COVID. It doesn't matter to me.
No.
We won.
No. I mean, hey, it's called depth. Apparently they didn't have it.
Exactly. Right. So, of course it wouldn't be a true champion. And no matter what happens with the 3 conferences this year, David, we will always look back on 2020 and wonder what if. But as you said yesterday, and I think you said it accurately when you retweeted our poll question, there has to be a little something for the effort of just playing.
I think so.
I do too. And, for those of you that didn't listen to the show yesterday, our poll question was, should the AAC get that 4th bid? Should their conference champion get that 4th bid to the playoff with what's going on this year? And our answers were yes, no, and never. And I was having a little fun, mainly because I have been a never to the AAC getting in the playoff. Not this year. I don't need to see a Big 12, a ACC, and 2 SEC in the playoff. We've already determined this. I mean, these conferences are playing all conference schedules. They're playing more conference games. If they pull this off, and it's a gigantic if, and we all know that, but if they pull this off, this will be the most conference play that we've ever had in the history of college football.
Will be difficult to go back also. Now, they will in the short term because schedules are already set, but I really believe it will be difficult to go back for these conferences, especially since every conference is seemingly forming their own network. And believe me, the network TV partners want more conference games. They'd much rather show you playing, even if it's a bad conference game. They would rather you beat up on a bottom-rung conference team than schedule South Alabama or Middle Tennessee State or what have you. It just will produce better ratings.
There's no doubt. Alabama Vandy's better than Alabama Georgia State.
Yeah,
every single time.
Even though Georgia State will play them tougher. And we all know that. Well, I'm joking. Georgia Southern would, not Georgia State.
There you go. That's why they don't schedule Georgia Southern, David. That's a tough offense to play
against.
They
won't schedule Troy. I mean, it is funny. Alabama will not play Troy. At UAB also standing there going, hello. Just no. For old time's sake, you come to Birmingham? No.
I will say, Ohio State's made a living beating up on every school in its state. It's never said no to the Cincinnati's, Kent State's, Akron's, Youngstown State, Toledo. I mean, they've damn near played them all over the years. Hey, Bama, go beat up on some of your own for a little while.
I think the folks who are Cincinnati fans would go, they don't play us all that often.
They play you enough. Okay. I'm saying.
But they do play you.
That's the thing. You go through the annals of Ohio State games. There's a lot of Division I football in the state of Ohio. They play pretty much all of them.
you go back to that 2002 national championship team. Cincinnati had the ball in the red zone to win the game through 4 passes into the end zone to win the game in the closing seconds. I mean, that was the year Ohio State dodged bullets all season long.
Yes, they did.
Goodness.
Yes,
they
did.
Ironically, was Cincinnati, and at that time they
one of the biggest
Cincinnati in a while.
One of the biggest bullets they dodged that year were the Bearcats.
And I think they played them at Riverfront. Also, I'm pretty sure that game was not in the shoe. Pretty sure that game was a quote-unquote neutral field, but it was played in Cincinnati.
David, I don't often go to the Williamson Brother Marine Talk and Text line in the opening segment.
Right.
But we spent a lot of the show talking college football yesterday, and we spent a lot of the week talking college football, as we are with this monologue. And I thought that I would share what someone sent to us last night at 9:20 in the evening.
Oh, we love those texts.
Which, by the way, you missed the show, download the podcast, and remember 479-5551 whenever you're feeling it. That's really the way I look at it. Whenever you're feeling it. I was talking with somebody yesterday at 3 in the afternoon on the text line. You know why? I was upstairs in the office and they sent a text. And you know what I did? I answered. Because that's Mark Miller in 2020. What the hell has happened? If you want to know what's wrong with the world right now, I'm answering text at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Our show's over at 9.
Listen, I don't know how we're going to get this moniker for ourselves because somebody's already using it. But Mark Miller, 2020, for the people.
So yesterday, David, you were lamenting that there's one college football team in the entire nation that if the season does not happen, that while they will be bothered, they will be largely okay with it. And that is the LSU fan base. Because they have a natty.
Yep. They're good. Yeah, they'll be national champion for another year.
Which led to this text at 9:21 in the evening. David's summation of LSU's fans was right on. Can't tell you how many times I've watched the Bama and Clemson game. My wife just shakes her head. Go Tigers. That is Geaux for all of you who's wondering at home.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. I love how LSU fans now pull an Orgeron when they're saying it too. They just used to say it, amongst
Go Tigers.
The way they would normally say it. The way
Go Tigers.
Alabama fan gets off an elevator at the hotel and they all say Roll Tide to one another.
I say both Roll Tide and Go Tigers to any Alabama or LSU fans I see on the street. Any city I'm in, anywhere I'm at, if I see it, I give them one because I know I'm getting it back.
Do you do it as Orgeron, though?
Oh, with LSU? Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I want to make sure they understand me, so I don't want to completely not enunciate. Right. So it's a little lighter than the Go Tigers. I try to...
You don't want to garble the whole thing.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Listen, I don't know about all of you at home, but when we're interviewing Orgeron, when you see him on television now, don't you all try to say it at the same time? Don't you try to anticipate?
Yes.
Remember back in the day when Tim Kirchin would make an appearance on radio, and especially when he was on Kornheiser's show, and they would always try to hang up on the other first. That apparently Kirchin hung up faster than everybody else.
In the business, we've had him on.
Right. And they hated it, when you would hear him hang up on the air. And so that became the joke. Could you hang up on Kirchin before he hangs up on you? And I feel it's kind of that way when Orgeron's doing his sideline interviews, in that you don't quite know when it's going to end. You're on the edge of your seat. You're leaning forward, and then you're all trying to, okay, when's he going to say it? When's he going to say it? When's he going to say it? And you don't want to be overly early. It's kind of like being a verse early with a song in which you start singing it and you go, ooh, I'm early. But you want to be able to just be that split second ahead of them. Go Tigers.
Exactly. Absolutely. I do. How can you not?
Miller and Moulton. The NBA playoffs are set, Mark. I know.
They are?
You've been clamoring for this for days. Yep. Every day before the show, every day during the starting five, you just stop me and you go, David, when are the NBA playoffs going to start and who's in them?
For the record, it's something I've never said. And as excited as I have been about sports returning, and David gave me grief because before things were going on, I left on 4 minutes of an NBA preseason game. And I did it mostly just to give David grief because I really wasn't paying attention. I've not watched a second, not 1 second of the resumed NBA regular season.
Really?
Not a second. It's meaningless and it's been bad and teams don't care, so why should I?
Well, I disagree, actually. One, it wasn't meaningless. People were fighting, at least in the West, they were fighting to get in the playoffs, and everybody was fighting for seeding. Two, I thought they played hard, quite frankly. The games have been tremendous. The number of games decided by 5 points or less has been very high. I mean, they've played hard. They didn't just, some did. Some teams played their way, but Mark, for instance, there are a couple of teams that played the way St. Louis and the Bruins did in their 3-game warm-up in the NHL, in which both teams, by the way, said, "Yeah, we didn't take these games all that serious."
The Lakers and the Clippers are two, and they're two of the and the Bucks. I mean, 3 of the 4 best teams in the game right now did not take this seriously. So that's why it's tough for me to take it seriously. So when the Suns are going on this great run, beating the Lakers and the Clippers who aren't trying, it's tough for me to put a lot into that, David.
Well, and I would argue it's because those 3 teams were able to take a look at the standings, and they had so much separation. The Lakers from the 1 to the 2, the Clippers from the 2 to the 3, and Milwaukee was all but mathematically locked in as the 1 when they resumed. That it was like, listen, let's not kill ourselves during these 2 weeks that we come back, or 3 weeks. Let's just be healthy and ready for the playoffs. But things are all set. Things are all set. NBA playoffs. Are you ready? The one thing I don't like about the NBA resumption, I don't know, the lighting to me is just not working. Okay, like the NHL's got their arenas, in Edmonton and Toronto lit the way they have them, and they have the stands filled the way they do. It, for whatever reason, it looks like a dark summer league game to me. I don't know. Even though I don't know if it's the court, I don't know if it's the lighting off of the court. Every time I'm watching, I go, man, this just doesn't look right to me.
That is what you get from the return of all sports. You're telling me of all the things that you see, it's the lighting at the NBA games that has you flustered in 2020?
I don't know if this is Truman Capote or Jim Mandich. I mean, but either way, one of them's come back from the dead.
Sorry, I just had to, when you, this goes back when we had the great Jim Mandich on the show, and David describes a 3-second cutaway in which he had solved the Dolphins' problems from a 3-second cutaway.
It's fair to say I read a lot into the shot of the quarterback standing on the sideline.
And so David gives a good 30-second question to Mandich about this 3-second cutaway. And Mandich gives 5 seconds of pause where Moulton and I are looking at each other and looking at John across the glass going, did we lose him?
Right.
And then Mandich, in only the way that Jim Mandich could do it, proceeds to tell David, you're telling me that you got all of that from a 3-second cutaway? So, sorry, that's when David went lighting, that's all that went in my head. So I had to go back and think of our friend, the great Jim Mandich, who, man, that's a guy that I just missed because I loved everything about him on the air.
I think it's been 10 years.
I know. The last trip I made to the Keys, every time I go past Ziggy and Mad Dog's, their restaurant there in Isle Marat, I always kind of think of Jim and tip my cap to the empty Heineken that sits up in that restaurant.
Because last time we saw him was at the Super Bowl in Miami. It was the 2009 Super Bowl. It was the Colts Saints Super Bowl, and that obviously was taking place in either late January or early February of 2010. And he actually left broadcasting in the middle of that Super Bowl week. Was when he got some more bad news, and he stopped broadcasting. So, and that was the last time that we saw the late great Jim Mandich. But a few things going on. NBA playoffs ready to get underway. NHL playoffs are more then underway. Some college football news.
And a monster day for high school athletics in the state of Florida. The only group that you can honestly say makes the NCAA look like geniuses. The FHSAA. They are meeting today and going to determine maybe what high school athletics will look like this fall. You never know, they could kick the can down the road because this is a group of gigantic morons.
I will say the NCAA is good at kicking the can down the road. The FHSAA is good at consistently kicking the can across the street and then back again. Okay. I don't know how often it gets all the way down the road, but they just keep kicking it. Wait a minute. I thought we decided, we're going back. Oh, okay. You know, did the curb stop that, or is it on the sidewalk? Get it back into the street. Miller and Moulton. Ross Chastain will join us in about an hour. We were able to catch up with him. They're racing the road course at Daytona this weekend. Many of you are going to see the road course if you decide to turn on racing on NBCSN, NBC. You're going to see the road course, which gets used for the 24 hours of Daytona. And you likely have never seen racing on it before. So they're in Daytona. They're just racing on the road course. It's ironic. Ross Chastain is the defending champion in the Xfinity race, yet it's on a completely different track. Same location, different track a year later. We'll talk to the Watermelon Man an hour from now. Miller and Moulton. Top of the morning to you. Thanks for waking up with us on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Swinging a foul ball. To catch a foul ball. Somebody made a good catch down there. It's on every fan's bucket list. Got yourself a foul ball. The chance is slim, but it's always there. Except this year, as balls fly into empty seats. And a foul. You have zero chance. And with fewer chances to catch Major League Baseball, don't miss your chance to hear something special. Major League Baseball is here. How did that ball have that special sound? Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Whether you stop by,
I got to tell you, the Cuban coffee to lead off the show is good for everybody, particularly me. That's a shot of adrenaline right in the, you know where. Pulled a U last night, David. I went to bed rather early. I love the fact that these basketball conferences are saying they're going to try to play in a bubble. I mean, if there is anything telling you that school does not matter.
License number CCC 1326954.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My shower door has just opened.
I'm really rooting for Carolina in this series. God, I don't like the Boston Bruins.
With more than 75,000 frameless
Yeah, I've never been a Bruins fan.
I haven't either, but I mean, if he was on my team, I'd like Marchand, but man, I'd like to punch him right in the mouth. That stick is always pointed. He is perpendicular between that stick and his body. That thing never is parallel to his body because he's got to lead with that end of that blade. And again, I'd love him if he was on my team, but my God, is he a punk. I didn't make it for much. I woke up third period of Dallas Calgary last night.
Oh, my God, I did the same thing. Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
I mean, not so great with my wife being gone, but we do share a bed, and she hates the television on in bed. So the fact that I can go to bed and just leave the TV on and know I'm going to wake up at some point and it's still going to be on makes me happy.
Did you know that voters have the option to cast their ballot by mail or vote early at any early voting site? Visit
That's exactly what happened to me.
to request your vote by mail ballot.
I dozed off during
Voting from home or to find an early voting location.
Boston, Carolina, I guess it was.
Early voting days.
Woke up during Dallas.
CollierVotes.com.
My buddy stopped over yesterday. We were just talking about. I mentioned some TV. I said, he goes, looked at me. He goes, if it doesn't have scores, I'm not watching it until this is all over. He's like, I don't care what it is, baseball, basketball, hockey. He goes, give it to me. He goes, I am not watching anything that doesn't have a result from now until whenever they take it away from us. He goes, because I don't know when it's going to end. I'm like, it's a dadgum good point, Gino. What a comeback by they almost pulled it off, but that Blackhawks team's pretty fun to watch.
Oh, they're really fun
Those
to
two,
watch.
I'm not watching them. I have really checked out of hockey for a couple of years other than the playoffs, particularly the West. But the two young guys, the Blackhawks right now have that ability to turn that roster over because those two young guys that are coming up for Taves and Kane.
Well, they still have Taves, Kane, and Duncan Keith.
They've got,
Yeah.
They kind of got that
Yep.
that next set going. And how about Taves? Ugh. Mr. Defense just leaving his guy wide open for the OT winner.
You're live.
29 minutes before the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Friday edition of Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels, 479-5551. That's how you can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Call or text in at 479-5551. Ross Chastain to join us an hour from now. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
To me, Mark, this is the biggest story in sports yesterday. I don't know if it is to everyone else. The NCAA announcing, no fall championships. This is 22 sports, including FCS football, which no champion. Now, if enough of you want to move these sports to the winter or the spring, basically the NCAA, once again, that 50% threshold. Hey, if over half of you want to play whatever it is, volleyball, soccer, you name it, if you want to play in the winter and spring, and there's more than 50% of you, we'll hold a championship. But otherwise, if, it is what it is.
Okay, that's great that they say that. But what it does do, David, is it puts all the onus on the schools who are going to lose a ton of money. What did Gary Sharp say? Nebraska's set to lose 9 digits?
Yeah, 100 to 120.
Okay. So we're going to lose $100 million, and, it's going to trickle down. Smaller schools are going to lose less, but they're going to lose a ton of money. And they're not going to have any budgets for travel. And then they're going to be told, play winter sports. Oh, yeah, by the way, play your fall sports in the winter and spring. Keep adding on to the expenses, but we're not going to really provide you with any revenue. That's a lot of onus to put on these schools because none of these sports generate any money, David.
And what little money they do generate, you wonder just when are we going to be comfortable having fans? Now, I think you could argue if you've got some outdoor sports, but also, let's just say you're running things over at FGCU. And for the majority of the teams in the A-Sun, you're in the South and Southeast. You're thinking maybe we could play soccer in the winter. You could probably get away with it because most every one of your schools doesn't really have winter. Our winter might be considered fall most everywhere else. But, who's going to play soccer nationwide in the winter? Okay, so then if soccer is going to get played, most of the schools in the country are going to say, well, we might be able to play it in the spring. And in certain parts of the country, you start running around in April and May. Heck, we're in the 90s in April down here. So we'll see what happens. The A-Sun reportedly was meeting all day yesterday. Part of the reason we're having Adam Fisher on the show, he's covering the FGCU angle as to what it is that they're going to do going forward. But the NCAA announcing no fall championships, Mark, this year.
And David, you're right in one sense. When are we going to feel comfortable is part of it. But the bigger part of it from a fan standpoint, when are they going to feel comfortable allowing fans without the word liability and litigation being part of the equation? And that's the bigger question, because Ken Kavanaugh would fill the stands tomorrow if he could. He can't. He would love to. I think Craig Brush would love to be filling Hertz Arena come December when the Everblades are scheduled to start. It's not their decision.
It's not?
Not right now.
Whose
They can't fill the
decision is it?
arena. You can't have 100% capacity inside anywhere.
Okay.
Now, when DeSantis says you can, they can, but right now you can't. I mean, hell, we just shut down a bar, and we're not even sure they were over 50% capacity. We just felt like doing it. They're arguing that they were far less. The only problem I have is if they actually show the video, there could be 74 other violations that come up.
NBA playoffs are set. The Portland Trailblazers end up being the 8th seed. Damian Lillard with 42 last night. They edged Brooklyn 134-133. Give it up to the Brooklyn Nets, by the way. Interim coach Jock Vaughn. Bunch of no-names played their you-know-what's off in this 8-game end of the regular season. They secured the 7 seed for themselves, and they nearly knocked Portland out of the playoffs. But Portland survives, and they're the 8, and they will play Memphis. The Grizzlies end up being the 9 seed. They beat the Greek freakless Bucks. He was suspended for the final game of the year because he headbutted Mo Wagner in the second to last game of the year, was suspended a game. Memphis a winner 119-106. They edge out the Phoenix Suns, Mark, who went 8-0 in the bubble in Orlando. No truth to the rumor the Suns and the Magic are switching locations beginning next season. The Phoenix Suns are perfect in Orlando. They whooped up on Dallas. And Mark, the Spurs' consecutive years playoff streak ends at 22. The last time the San Antonio Spurs were not in the playoffs was 1997. 22 consecutive years they made the playoffs, but they will not this year. The 8-9 seeding situation, Memphis has to beat Portland twice. Portland only has to win one game. 1 out of 2 for Portland. Memphis has to go 2 for 2.
And if you don't really care about the NBA, I ask you to pull for the Blazers, because everybody who covers the NBA, including Rashad Phillips on this show, said, hey, look, I don't know if Portland can beat the Lakers, but they're the team that's the scariest out of all of the 7, 8, 9, 10s as this was starting. With Lillard and his ability to score, it can make for an interesting series. They're going to be the underdog, obviously, as the 8, but they're, in most people's minds, the most lively 8 to do some damage.
NHL playoffs continued yesterday. Columbus beat Tampa 3-1 to even that series. Carolina beat Boston 3-2 to even that series at a game apiece. Vegas in overtime has a 2-0 lead over the Blackhawks, 4-3 the final there. And Dallas even their series against Calgary at a game apiece. Calgary overcame a 4-2 deficit late, only to have Dallas score the game winner with under 40 seconds to go. So 3 of those 4 series now even at a game apiece. College football news, Nebraska officially ending all talk of playing outside the Big Ten yesterday. They had their temper tantrum for a couple of days, but the university president on down said, yeah, we're going to stay. So Ohio State and Nebraska, both publicly, complained for a couple days, but have decided we will remain in the Big Ten and we will play ball. Mark, here's something I find interesting. The college football playoff committee is still going to exist.
Why?
Well, because...
Do they get paid?
I don't believe so. I think they have their expenses taken care of.
There you go. They need some vacation time.
Well,
I'm just having fun, David. Come on.
So there's 13 of them on the committee. Now, what's interesting is you've got a whole bunch of guys on the committee who are representing schools/conferences that are not playing football this year.
Right.
So there was some talk about, well, should they be allowed to be on the committee?
They got a lot of time to watch football.
That's the other way to look at it, though. I could argue they might see more football now than they normally do. They may have a more educated opinion on what's going on now than they normally would have, because most of them have full-time jobs, and they would be busy on Saturdays with their full-time job.
So the talk is, now R.C. Slocum's going to have to recuse himself when Texas A&M and somebody else if they're being discussed because he has ties to them. And those type of deals, you're going to have to recuse yourself. That's like the NCAA selection committee with basketball. If you've got a connection to a certain school, you've got to leave the room. But they ultimately decided that, no, everybody who's on the committee can stay on the committee going forward. Round 1 of the Wyndham in Charlotte, North Carolina, it was suspended due to weather and then darkness. Harold Varner III, Tom Hogue, and Roger Sloan, 2 Americans and a Canadian, all tied for the lead. They shot 8 under 62s at the Wyndham. Mookie Betts hit 3 homers yesterday, and he's done that quite a few times. I think it's the 6th time in his career he's done that in a game. Dodgers whooped up on the Padres 11-2. Tampa Bay scored 17 on the Red Sox yesterday in a 17-8 win. It was nice of the Patriots to go for 2 at the end against Tom Brady and the Bucks. Cubs double up Milwaukee 4-2. Baltimore 11-4 over Philly. Pittsburgh back in action, beat Cincinnati 9-6, and the Mets 8-2 over the Nats. The Cardinals not playing today either. They're sitting out one more day, are the Cardinals, before I think they travel today to Chicago to play a doubleheader against the White Sox tomorrow. For the record, the Major League Baseball season began 3 weeks ago yesterday. The St. Louis Cardinals have played 5 games. 5. They have 55 games that they have to play in 44 days. Mark, that's a minimum of 11 doubleheaders. Every 4th day, they've got to play a doubleheader on average for the rest of the year.
That pitching staff should be in great shape.
Oh, my
If
goodness.
injuries weren't already bad enough during this shortened baseball season, will the Cardinals have enough players to finish the season by the time this is done? Even with the 40 or whatever you have on your roster, I'm being 100% serious, David. You think that they're not going to go through this with a bunch of injuries?
Oh, no, they're going to have a ton of injuries. This is a dangerous situation.
It really is. This is not a little league team.
I mean, the Marlins missed a week. Now, they came back and picked right up where they left off. They swept a 4-game series in Baltimore, but they also had to go get a bunch of new guys because they had half their team sitting out and COVID precautions and all that. And so they actually picked up guys who were working out regularly. You wonder, have these Cardinals been able to work out regularly during the nearly 2 weeks now that they've been inactive? I don't think so. Part of quarantine is quarantine, right? So 55 games in 44 days for the Cardinals for the rest of the year. It starts with a doubleheader in the South Side tomorrow against the White Sox. And that, Mark, is
The Starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
16 minutes before the top of the hour. Ross Chastain will join us next hour. We'll come back. We'll give you the results of yesterday's poll question and have today's for you as well. Hope your week is going well. Thanks for ending it with a little bit of us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program. This is the Dan Patrick Show. Aaron Rodgers, he was speaking to Kyle Brandt on his podcast. He talked about the Packers drafting his successor, Jordan Love.
Was I bummed out? Of course. I got a text from my agent.
Not according to the votes of the radio station, Arch. I can only do what they tell me. Because unfortunately, what's going over the radio is far more important than what's going over this. And they told me to turn up.
The Dan Patrick Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Wait a minute, what?
Arch said that you're much lower than me volume-wise, and I just told him back that that's not what our producer told us at the station, and I have to adhere to what the radio station tells me, not what the Twitch room tells me on this one. So I got you, Arch. I'm hearing the same thing, but I can only go by what I'm told.
Mark, but you sound a little lower than.
Yeah, I know, and they're telling me it's just the opposite in here, so I'll come up a little bit more for you, Jiro. Just tell me when we come back on. Text me. Okay. I'm not doubting you at all. We got this Twitch chat room, and they're like trying to tell me I'm way low, and I'm like, hey man, don't know what to tell you. I do what Jiro tells me to do. He's in charge.
Can sell you a new car for less. 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease, just $49 per month. That's right, a new car for just $49 per month. 2020 Kia Rio, just $13,990. Yes, $13,990. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Galliana Kia has lenders to get almost anyone approved. Plus, we'll take any trade, in any condition, even if you're upside down. Why? Why buy an overpriced used car when you can buy a new car for less? Brand new Kias, just $49 per month. You should be driving a Kia from Galliana Kia. At Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 24 monthly, 12,000 miles per year, $39.99 to assign plus tax tax title deed on acquisition. Zero security deposit with lender approval expires Monday.
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
We are Fox Sports. For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service.
By the way, I don't know if you saw Gary Sharp responded. He'd let him in. He answered the poll question. I tweeted him after.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R.
Interesting.
Martineau.
A big part of enjoying a good bike ride.
Bad poll result, by the way. That was a bad poll. That's the lowest number we've had in weeks. So we got to come up with a poll question for the weekend.
Surgeons in the world are right here in our area at Community Eye Center.
We really care about improving.
How many games will the Cardinals play before Monday?
Really do care about helping people, and we're so glad they helped us.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody,
don't be a spreader.
Coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands, be careful, don't be a spreader.
We've got our good friend.
Will you watch the NBA playoffs?
In Naples on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Cortec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors.
Yes, very fired up.
Ready to go pick up, put down.
Maybe a little.
Everything from
not at all.
Starting at $299 on up.
Wait a minute. Give me the question again, because I think I got a better answer. I'm not. I like.
Will you watch the NBA playoffs? Because they start Saturday.
Fired up. Not at all. Or fired up. I'll start watching conference finals or now conference finals. Not at all.
With a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks for being with us, Miller and Moulton. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and we're broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels.
Want to chime into the show? It's easy to do so. 479-5551. Call or text in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551. Poll question yesterday. We thought it was a pretty good one. You guys didn't, because only about half of you voted compared to how many normally vote. And also, it was an overwhelming result. I think both of us did not think that one of the three answers would win going away the way it did. But the question was, with no Pac-12 or Big Ten football this season, would you put the AAC champion in the playoff? And nearly 3/4 of you said, yeah, absolutely. And the rest of you split up your no answer between no and never.
And I, for the record, was a yes.
Normally,
somewhere I've never been.
Right.
When it comes to the AAC.
Now, there's a group out there called the Never Trumpers. Mark is
the Never AAC.
Right. Never Group of Five is basically Mark.
Correct.
But for this year,
since there is no other group, since part of the P5 took the P year off.
Right. So Mark and, myself, and we had Gary Sharp on yesterday from Omaha, and Gary said, yeah, he'd be in favor of the best group of five team getting the 4th spot this year. Now, we think that team would come from the AAC. I guess it's possible that team could be App State. The Mountain West isn't playing, so that takes Boise State out of the equation. But, this year, sure. And, Mark, I'm glad you liked the way that I phrased it, because when I answer on Twitter, I usually give and here's why explanation as to my poll vote. And I think this year, hey, you got to reward conferences that play. This is a risk. This is a major undertaking. This is a costly undertaking. And if you help pull this season off, then I think you should be rewarded for it.
And when the richest conference in the land says we're not going to do it, not even going to try, and the AAC is put, and we had Mike Oresco on yesterday, and there's one thing that I think we all know if you listen to that interview. There has been a tremendous amount of work already put in at the AAC level to try to pull this off. And we have no idea, obviously, if they can do it. But we asked the question based on those 5 conferences getting through the season. The hypothetical is, hey, will they finish? And that's the only way David and I can operate right now. Because if not, we'd go insane. I mean, it's that simple. But the season you've all been waiting for kicks off tonight. Tips off tonight. Sorry.
Well, no. It tips off Monday.
Oh, we don't have the playoffs till Monday? Well, why wouldn't we wait a few more days? Why not get some games in on the weekend?
Well,
they're playing.
Here's an interesting thing. They're playing. There's 4 games left in the regular season today. None of them impact the playoffs at all because the teams that are in the playoffs have been set and the seeding have been set. But there's 4 games left in the bubble in the regular season today. Ironically, one of the games, Mark, is the Heat and the Pacers because they're going to then meet beginning for real next week. But there'll be no NBA this weekend.
Okay.
Why would you take a weekend
I don't know,
off?
David. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't to me.
And I know
either.
a lot of you said the NBA's been great. I've paid attention. I shouldn't say I haven't paid any attention, but since there wasn't a lot on the line, I've not been watching the NBA. I've been watching the hockey. I've been watching the NASCAR. I've watched more baseball than NBA. But we ask you this question. How much of the NBA playoffs will you be watching as we get to the Miller and Moulton poll question, brought to you by The Reef on Fort Myers Beach, the destination for live music in Southwest Florida. The Reef, low ceilings, and you can still smoke inside because it's still 2004. But our poll question, how much of the NBA playoffs will you be watching? All in from the start? Wait until conference finals? Wait until the finals? Or not interested?
That's our poll question. Once again, trying to gauge what kind of NBA market we have. That's our poll question, millerandmoulton.com. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter.
Remember, that's brought to you by The Reef on Fort Myers Beach. I appreciate all of you that have been sending in sponsor possibilities for defunct Southwest Florida businesses. I would ask that a lot of the time you're just sending names in, and if I don't know what they are, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So if you could, just give me a little background, just a touch, so I can do a little research on my own.
Mark, I didn't mention it in the starting five, and I probably should have. The lone FGCU golfer that was left in the U.S. Amateur got beat. He played well yesterday. He shot 2 under and got beat 3-2 in the second round. But did you hear about I don't know if it's controversy is the right word, but just a strange ending to a match? There was a match that was all square on the 18th, and one of the golfers was in a greenside bunker. And he walked in the bunker, took a look at his lie, got out of the bunker, and walked out to the green and was just kind of, surveying the situation. And while he did that, his caddy, who's a local, took his hand and placed it down on the sand in the bunker. And don't know if he was doing it to just try to gauge whether or not it was a harder than normal, whatever. But by rules, that's loss of hole, because the golfer is responsible for the caddy's actions. And so the official had to walk over to the player and say, your caddy just cost you this hole. All square on the 18th hole of I think, third round match. So it was to make it to the either round of 16 or quarterfinals of the U.S. Amateur.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And as we talked about yesterday, I mean, anybody who's played any type of match play, I mean, you win a couple matches, you all of a sudden start thinking, I can win this sucker. And that's life-changing. You win a U.S. Amateur. It gets you in a few majors. I mean, it's a life-changing event here.
I'd be in jail. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio. I'd kill him. No. I would have. I'd have taken a 3-iron to him.
Did you see the woozy Faraday?
No.
Okay, because
I don't ever watch Faraday.
Really?
I'm sure it's a good show. I'm really over Faraday.
Okay. See,
Faraday's become too arrogant for me and a little too righteous for me, so I have trouble watching him.
Okay. And I love his show.
Right,
and because I think he gets material from the golfers that we're normally not getting. So he's talking to Woosnam. And they're buddies, of course.
Right.
And so he brings up the British Open. When Woozy's tied for the lead going into the final round, he birdies the first hole. So he's standing on the second tee with the lead in the British in the final round. And that's the time in which he had the extra club in his bag.
Oh, that's right. He had the 2 drivers.
Right. And since the first hole was a par 3. What?
I saw a tweet from that somebody retweeted this, that they're talking about this squatter. Did you see this? Guy squatting 800 pounds and both knees blow out.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Oh, that was wrong. Whew, sorry. So what did he say? Sorry.
No. And he just said, we're on the range. I'm dealing with the drivers. And he said, hey, I wanted to kill the guy. But he's a good caddy and a good guy. And he kept him around, for like another year before he got rid of him. He didn't just fire him on the spot or fire him immediately after the tournament.
Right. But the difference is in the U.S. Am, this is someone you just grabbed off the street.
Yeah.
More times than not.
Right.
You can't, unless you brought your dad or your buddy.
Well, and he was, I think, a kid from Argentina or whatever, and he grabbed a local.
Jesus.
I know.
My buddy Matty Hutchins is T7 in the Latino. David can, I'll turn David down. Tell me if this is better, Giro, this segment, all right? I'll turn him down. It's so funny because it's so much different on what we're getting. But done. Got a couple of things here. I know there's a lot of okay.
The one thing I didn't mention, which I should have, two guys got paid in the NFL yesterday.
Yeah, I saw. Okay, I got a couple of things. You got Strasburg getting thrown out from the stands, which I think is great.
Awesome.
I also have right here, if you want to have a little fun, this is my friendly first notice from the HOA. My mailbox needs to be painted.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great material right
okay,
there.
So that's just letting you know what I got here.
Can't compete. It's close, though. Getting thrown out from the stands is close to competing with the
You know
HOA.
what? We forgot our poll question after all that, too. You technology, me NASCAR.
You're right. Well, that's coming up at the end of the segment coming up.
Wake up in the morning.
That's true.
Yep, that's it. Miller.
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Hey, how long is that segment, by the way?
Man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooley
17 minutes.
Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
We probably need to be out by 23, so we can start at around 28, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Now, the best
got a bunch of text here.
show this
Good.
town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you on this Friday? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 479-5551. Ross Chastain will join us near the bottom of the hour. Adam Fisher of the Naples Daily News will join us an hour from now. Today's a big day for the future of fall sports throughout the state of Florida in the high school ranks. Adam to talk about that an hour from now.
The Reef Bar in Fort Myers Beach poll question is, how much of the NBA playoffs are you going to be watching? All in from the start, wait until the conference finals, wait until the finals, or not interested are our choices. We know we're not a big NBA market, but the one thing I've learned in coming back in Act 2 is that our NBA market's growing, David. You know, we've had a few poll questions, and even when we did, what are you most interested in, baseball, hockey, or NBA? The NBA numbers surprised us because they were a lot bigger than they used to be. They still finished last, but they didn't finish a distant third the way they would have in the past. Got this text on the Williamson Brothers Marine Talk and text line. NBA has been great. We'll watch all playoffs. Also got a courtside seat as a virtual Suns fan yesterday.
Oh, look at you.
Love it.
Look at you.
Love it. And I'm waiting for the answer, but I'm like, how did you do that? I thought that was fantastic. So pretty fired up about seeing that. And then a lot of people giving me defunct businesses in Southwest Florida. So keep them coming.
I love this. I don't know if our bosses appreciate this, and because we're poking a little fun. All right. Listen, during COVID, I mean, obviously advertising has taken a big hit everywhere. And it has with our station as well. And so we have a lot of unsponsored segments. And so we decided right before we took our week off to have a little fun. We did a show in which Mark and I separately from one another came up with lists of defunct sponsors from local to national. I'd have my sponsor, then Mark would have his, and this, that, and the other. And we attached it to every damn thing we did on the show.
I will say the St. George the Dragon, Good, Bad, and Ugly, got a lot of personal response from me yesterday. But David,
I love this. I don't know if the bosses do, Mark, but I am loving this.
No offense, David. A lot of these segments weren't sponsored before COVID. So
exactly.
I don't know what to tell you. They've had 3 years. and a list of all of these for that entire 3 years. So,
and while we're at it, our longtime podcast sponsor, all right, is no longer our longtime podcast sponsor. So
we
if
got
you want
nothing.
to attach your name,
we got nothing.
If you want to attach your name to the Miller and Moulton podcast, feel free. Reach out to Mark. Reach out to me via Twitter and email. We'll make it happen for you.
Carrier pigeon, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, really.
I have a letter in front of me that I received a couple of days ago, David, that I would like to talk to you about.
Wait,
because
you received a letter?
I received a letter from the Homeowners Association in the neighborhood where I live. Big, bold letters at the top, all caps, friendly first notice. Dear Mark Miller, we think you...
I'm sorry, did it really say friendly?
Friendly first notice. Dear Mark Miller, we think that you would agree that, and it has my neighborhood, has proven to be an exciting and comfortable place to live. Now, I want to stop right there. There is not a damn thing about this neighborhood that's exciting.
I was going to say.
There is maybe 2 things in Southwest Florida that you would consider exciting, and none of them are a neighborhood.
How many neighborhoods in Southwest Florida would you consider, quote, exciting? In fact, gated communities, by definition, are what they are to create as little excitement as possible.
Hell of a point. You want to know an exciting neighborhood? Any of the apartments where FGCU students live on a Friday night. That's exciting.
Now we're talking. That's an exciting neighborhood right there. Like those apartments in front of Hertz Arena. My guess is
exciting.
Those are lively. Something's always happening there.
Yes.
That's an exciting neighborhood.
The declaration of covenants, restrictions, and easements were created to preserve the property's appeal and value of our homes. With your purchase within this neighborhood, you made an agreement to abide by the rules and regulations defined in these governing documents. Please accept this letter as your friendly first notice regarding the following rules and regulations of this community.
What'd you do?
Issue. It has been observed that your mailbox and or post needs to be painted. Now, for a little background, my wife a while back ordered some stuff online where we cover our mailbox with some little Velcro thing, and whether it's the summer one, whether it's the red, white, and blue, whether it's Easter, Christmas, Halloween, I don't give a damn. We've got a cover for this mailbox.
Oh, I know. You do monthly themes with your mailbox.
So we leave for vacation. We had a hurricane coming at us. So they sent out the note, clear your crap. So before we left, and even though the storm ended up being nothing, I made sure that we had our yard ready in case the storm hit, because I was leaving before it was supposed to get here. One of the things my wife did was take the little thing off of the mailbox so it didn't blow off and send it around the neighborhood.
So it stopped being a friendly mailbox.
Well, because of these little covers, apparently, the sun has then gone through the cover and faded the paint on the mailbox.
Of all the people in your exciting neighborhood that they could send this letter to, I am thrilled that they sent it to you.
Now, mind you, I've already painted the damn mailbox and I put the cover back over it. We're good. I do take care of these things, but again, has proven to be an exciting and comfortable place to live. Now, first off, that phrase contradicts itself.
Yes.
Because exciting and comfortable don't really go together. Friendly and comfortable, exciting and vibrant, but exciting and comfortable don't seem to be 2 words that you would put back to back in a sentence. They don't go together.
Because if your house is exciting, the neighbors on either side of you are not comfortable.
Bingo.
Right. Exciting and comfortable. Because, yes, in fact, I wouldn't have done anything because I would have then sent a letter back going, I disagree with the premise entirely.
Well, first off, you can't. Now, I'll get to what the document cited. Owners are responsible to maintain, repair, and or replace their mailbox. Contact the property management for a list of vendors. Are you effing kidding me? Mailboxes other than the type and size installed are not permitted. New or repainted mailboxes shall be painted with a black gloss paint. No other colors or finishes are acceptable.
Okay, what's the sponsor right now that's got the theme of is it the aunt or who is it in the neighborhood?
No, it's the guy. It's one of the Geico commercials where the ladies, you got the one guy walking his kids.
The hedges are too high.
I see you've met Karen, and she's zipping the mailbox down and the hanging plants. It's such a great commercial.
Right. Well, there you go. See, I want to meet your HOA's Karen. So you know me. I would draw them out, Mark. I'm not going to let them hide behind a friendly letter.
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out, because it came from the lady in the office. But it starts out by saying it has been observed. So that means that one of the petty people who walk around the neighborhood, and I'm going to talk, we got the mayor and his wife. She's a big Mets fan. We're going to have a chat today because I want to see if it was him.
Oh, boy.
I don't think it was, but it could have been. I believe that there are people that are so bored with their life that they ride around the neighborhood and pick these things out. But yes, my faded mailbox, not only is there a friendly first letter for all you on Twitch to see.
I love the fact that in big block letters titled friendly first letter.
There is also a compliance RSVP that has my name. I have to fill out what the issue was, and then it says I either have or have not corrected or will correct, and then describe what I did, print, put my email address, and sign it, which will happen here at Boca Vista, where we live. Next to Mr. and Mrs. Seinfeld.
Remind me never to move into an HOA.
You can't. By the way, David, you cannot. Because here's the difference, is that my wife would castrate me if I messed with the HOA, because she loves this house and would never let me do anything. This is her dream home, and if I said something nasty, no. Make it happen night wouldn't happen this decade.
All right.
Whereas you wouldn't ask for permission. You would have already painted the thing purple, taken a picture, filled this out, and caused as much drama as is humanly possible.
Yes, I would have made it an orange middle finger. Okay. But it would have been freshly painted. Okay. And then I'd let the observers decide, whether or not that fit. Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd go to war. And Mark, just so you know, it runs in the family. All right. And for those that have listened for a while, my mother lives with who is now her best friend. Okay. At the time that they moved in together 35 years ago, probably one of her top 2 or 3 friends. And, the 2 divorced moms, and they pooled their money together and they bought a 2-bedroom, big townhome in a neighborhood that they otherwise could not have gotten in the early 80s. And so my mother's best friend, who I call Aunt Kathy, all right, she was the president of the HOA for like 8 years. And during that time, my mother was illegally flying, according to the HOA, a flag. Because my mother does with the flags what you do with your mailbox by month. Every month has a new flag. February, heart, March, a shamrock, April would be an Easter bunny, this, that, and the other thing. And apparently, at some point in time, basically you can fly the American flag, and that's about it. Okay. And so my mother, for years, okay, remember, she's living with the president of the board. All right. And my mother would just say, well, you're going to have to find me again, as she's changing one flag out for the other. Years she did this for. She was Derek Coleman. Here's the blank check. Fill out how much I owe you. Years she did it.
Well, it is something. And my wife and I have become friendly with another couple in the neighborhood who have kids the same age as our daughter. They have twins, and they played soccer together. And we've kind of become friends with them. They live down the road. And I finally said to him, they invited us over a few weeks ago because they just finished building their pool. And I looked at my neighbor, because we had kind of briefly talked about it before. I said, are you in? And he goes, for what? I go, we're running for the board. And he goes, yep, I'm in. Because we've got there's the president of the board who ran, who's younger and has a family. The rest of the board are retirees, and there's 5 of them. If he and I could win, we now have 3 parents on the board, and we could F this neighborhood up something fierce.
you know what you could do? You could make it an
exciting neighborhood.
Yes. In fact, that should be your platform. You guys should all run on the same platform, trying to make name of development exciting again.
Yep.
Okay. Make whatever exciting again. That should be your mantra.
I want parking lot parties. I want loud music. I want to see how much I can honk these people off. They've poked the bear. They've poked the bear. And if he and I do this, it's basically a combined ticket, and we're going to go after it. And as Arch is trying to tell me in the Twitch chat room, the Karens will run you ragged. No. I'll run them ragged. I think you've listened to me long enough that I'm pretty sure I can handle Karen.
Speaking of exciting, did you see what happened in Seattle in the last 2 days? The Seahawks cornerback who got cut. Did you hear why he got cut? He tried to sneak a woman into the team's hotel. He dressed his woman up in Seahawks gear to try to make her look like a player. He got caught, and needless to say, because, COVID, protocols, hey, we're not playing around. This is serious business now, okay? We understand, okay? We all love a good make it happen night, even in the middle of training camp, but rules are rules. And so they cut the kid. And I would think he'll have trouble getting picked up somewhere else, especially the rest of this year. So you want to see how quickly? I mean, that's pretty good, though.
It's an A for effort. It's way better than Lou Williams did stopping at the Ripper joint for say I did it for wings. I mean,
right.
There's some work that went into this.
Right. He dressed her up. So obviously they talked about it. They plotted. They schemed. All right, but he got caught. So sorry.
So he got caught.
You can't be with the Seahawks anymore. Do just want to point out, all right, if the price of doing business a year ago at this time, Mark, the highest paid tight end in the NFL was Jimmy Graham at $10 million.
That all changed yesterday.
$10 million. Yesterday, Kittle with the Niners, 5 for $75. Now, it's an extension on his current deal, so it doesn't kick in for a year. But obviously, that's $15 a year. And Travis Kelce of the Chiefs gets 4 for $57 added onto his deal. That's $14.25 a year. Well, if you're Zach Ertz in Philadelphia, and the Eagles nearly signed him to a long-term deal a year ago at this time, and Ertz said, it's not quite enough money, I'm going to hold off. You want to talk about exciting and a party? How about at the Ertz household last night?
It's exciting and comfortable there.
It really is.
It's
Mark.
exciting and comfortable at the Ertz house because he knows he's excited because he's going to make a blank ton of money, and he's comfortable because, he's going to make a blank ton of money.
Correct. And he's comfortable because whatever the fine is in the HOA, in the development, they'll be able to pay it. I mean, his wife's a professional soccer player,
right,
but he'll take care of it if by chance she can't cover it. He's got it covered.
Question in the Twitch chat room, Kittle or Kelce more worth the money? My answer was yes.
Kittle. For me, I think he's a better blocker. For what it's
My
worth.
answer is still yes.
Yes.
And when they pay Ernst, if you want to add him to it, the answer is still yes. Because it is, if you have an elite tight end, and we've watched this for a few years in the league, it is a position that is damn near uncoverable. And Gary's term, David, is pressure points.
Yep.
Is there anybody in the sport that can create pressure points quite the way an elite tight end can?
No, look at what Gronkowski did in New England. I mean, with largely not elite receivers around him. I mean, obviously one or two guys emerged. At the beginning of Gronk's career, you had Welker. And then at the end of his career, you had Edelman. But
mean, for the biggest weapon that New England had was Gronk for most of his career there.
And you have a lot of weapons in Kansas City with Kelsey, but does Hill get the space he gets without Kelsey? And I don't know. I mean, I think you could devote more guys to Hill if you didn't have the Kelsey part of that. And obviously, Sammy benefited from it.
Oh, totally. I mean, Sammy never see a double for as many years as he can stay in Kansas City, and they're going to have salary cap issues going forward. It was a fascinating tweet that was sent out yesterday that before the Chiefs started negotiating all these long-term deals, these extensions, remember, they've signed Mahomes, Jones, and now Kelsey, all to long-term extensions. But when the Chiefs sat down to negotiate these deals, they had $171 in salary cap room available to them for this year. But since they were signing extensions and there's a way to work it out, they actually gained cap room. So they sat down and they've spent, $600 million on Jones, Kelsey, and Mahomes in the last couple months, and they did it with $171 of cap room. So when a team says, hey, we just don't have the cap room, the translation is, yeah, we just don't want to pay you. Because clearly there's a way around it, and they're not willing to do it. Miller and Moulton, for the record, Mark, and I don't know if this will inspire future behavior by you and your buddies who apparently are running for the board. My mother pointed out, she's listening by the Miller and Moulton and watching.
Hi, Mom Moulton.
Twitch.tv channel. She pointed out that she was able to, after years of defiance, get the rules changed so that flags could be flown again.
We'll have to have a talk before I run for the board, because that is the biggest thing I need to know. I need to find a lawyer and people who have done this, because I'm not going into this without having someone having read and helped explain every bit of these bylaws so that I know how to change them and how to get it done quickly and basically be as sneaky as I can be with it.
Now, it took years. I mean, basically, you have to devote yourself. It's like training for an Olympics, Mark.
But if I get 3 of 5 on the board, we can make things happen.
Well, exactly. And so my mother, she says it took years, but she was able to, A, get the flags reinstated, and B, she negotiated her fine down by half.
First off, I'm not worried about flags in this neighborhood. There's a guy flying the Space Force flag in our neighborhood. I mean, there are no problems with flags.
So flags are okay, but mailboxes, all right.
Paint
Apparently
those
that's
suckers.
what they're, it's kind of like the Geico Karen there.
Yep.
2 inches too tall. Got it.
Saw it
Got
down.
it. Miller and Moulton. Make sure you go to millerandmoulton.com. Our poll question, NBA playoffs, the regular season officially ends today. That's right, August 14th. Does anything say 2020 more than that? NBA regular season ends today. The playoff matchups are set. Playoffs will begin Monday. Are you fired up for them? Yeah, I'm all in. No, I'll start watching conference finals. Heck, I won't even start watching until the finals. Or I'm not interested at all. Those are the choices at millerandmoulton.com. That Mark Miller or the David Moulton. Please vote. You've got through the weekend. Miller and Moulton. Ross Chastain, the watermelon man. He's racing on a road course at Daytona this weekend, where he's the defending champion. We'll talk to Ross Chastain next on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is the Herd.
Well, you got that right, Tom.
Start looking at your 3.
Giro, you're all set, right? You got this?
A lot of heat because he doesn't deliver in the clutch.
Okay.
It's like, oh no, Kyle's a really good 3. So with the Lakers, it's Kyle Kuzma. He's having his worst year, 12.5 a game, 30% from 3-point land. So when you start,
you know what? I think it's Mark, right? I know M. Sharpeny. I think you're Mark. I'm not. You know what? That's a pretty damn good idea. It's not impossible to do. That would be really cool, as a matter of fact. I'll reach out to Roto and see if we can't do that. That might be really fun to do a virtual summit. All right, as most of you guys know, we taped this yesterday, so We're going to step away for a little bit here. Enjoy the interview. Giro, I'm parting down all of our mics for this interview, okay?
Okay. Community heroes, both current and retired, France Eye Care would like to express their appreciation for all that you have done and all that you continue to do for the Southwest Florida community. And that's why we're offering $1,500 off bilateral LASIK starting now until Patriot Day. All teachers, EMTs, firefighters, police officers, and critical care workers in hospitals and minor emergency clinics are eligible to receive this benefit now through September 11th. Dr. Jonathan France and his expert team of surgeons want to help you experience better vision and a better life without the hassle of contacts and those steamy old glasses. Take advantage, $1,500 off LASIK by dialing **2020 from your mobile phone and schedule your free LASIK screening today. Thank you, teachers and first responders. You're the heroes. Dial **2020 from your mobile phone.
I'm a busy person. Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up. Businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open and ready to serve you. Our personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives, 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable? Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with char-broiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's presents the Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito. Wanted in 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance. We start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we add a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito are back. Only at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
Here we go! Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
And welcome back, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. It's a pleasure to catch back up with the Melon Man, Ross Chastain, who's third in the Xfinity standings, 11 top 10s in a row. And, well, he's going back to, it's got to be his favorite track, Mark. Hell, he finished in the top 10 in the 500 there, and he won there a year ago on the Xfinity Series, except, Ross, you're racing a completely different track at Daytona.
I know, Mark. It's going to be tough on those pace laps. Roll off pit road and know that we're gonna hang a left and go into the infield where I usually camp. That first horseshoe, the east horseshoe of the road course, on the left on the braking zone, right before corner turn in, is right where we always camp. So hopefully I don't end up there again off in the grass.
Yeah, definitely want to stay away from the camper. Ross, just give us, because you've been running great, just give us a sense, though, of the strangeness of this year from any other year you've driven, because we know you've been running well. You're a top 10 machine, for crying out loud, but just the whole experience of the 2020 season since we last talked.
Yeah, it is. I thought the weirdest part of this year would be that we were fully funded and we would be having new cars all the time and having tires to put on the race car all the time and rental motors, like I thought that was going to be the weird part, and in fact that's been the most normal, is getting in the car and doing our job. There's no traffic coming into these races because there are no fans. Daytona is one of the outliers where they are having a limited fan base in there, and some motorhomes letting people camp and stuff. So that's a first, the motorhome, the camping side, which I think is great. Let some people in, we'll all social distance, and but just having a little bit of buzz around the track like Daytona is awesome. And this season, pre-race, I don't notice much, but when we got out of the cars after the race, unfortunately we haven't won yet, so I haven't been completely focused on celebrating. Even when we finished second, I've been, not the happiest guy in the world. Looking back, should have been a little more excited about it, but it's just that desire to win is so high, and we're pushing hard to get there.
Ross Chastain third in the Xfinity Series, and as we mentioned, comes into Daytona with 11 top 10s in a row. You won here last year, as I mentioned. You love the Super Speedway. It's the course that obviously was the closest to you at home in Alva. You've had good success racing the Super Speedway. Have you ever raced the road course before?
Only on a golf cart and a bicycle. No, I've not.
So with what's been 2020 and lack of practice, how do you approach this?
Fortunately, the fact that it is 2020, man, RCR, our alliance partner that Colleague Racing partners with, has their own simulator that we can drive as drivers and plug our setups in. So that's been key. That was the first thing I drove for this track with the latest layout of the chicane and everything was last week. They got everything finalized, and NASCAR made their final decision on the curbing for that chicane off of NASCAR 4, and got to make laps there. And then a lot of iRacing every night, much to my girlfriend Aubrey's displeasure. I've been spending a lot of time up there at night, and then the Team Chevy simulator, they have one. This massive, it's in a big building. It's a full cockpit, projection screens on a curved canvas, and really puts you into the race car, makes you feel like you're really on track. And that's been key. So a lot of time between those three things, with the two Team Chevy and RCR simulator during the day, and iRacing by night. I've ran enough laps that I got sick of it. I was tired of driving around Daytona and focusing so diligently trying to be better. And so we're on our way down to Daytona now, and hopefully it all pays off.
The last time we talked, I believe you were just getting ready to, was it with Boris Said, do some road course, not just testing, but also like they were going to tutor you. You said, hey, I'm really good at making left-hand turns. I'm not so good at making right ones as well. And so I'm wondering, A, what did you learn? And B, how much more confident do you feel now than from the last time we talked?
A lot. Yeah, it was with Ron Fellows, and that was out in Las Vegas. So it a long way from then. I feel a lot more confident, and and just trying to find that last little bit of speed now. The art of making the right turns feels more normal now than it did that day that I talked to you guys last. With a full day with Ron and 2 races now under our belt in the Xfinity car, a lot more confident. Just braking and turning right. Now it's about braking, turning right, downshifting, and accelerating, and gaining a tenth of a second in that corner, or just maintaining, and not abusing the tires or the brakes or the transmission. So it's coming along. It's just a work in progress.
Ross, as I mentioned, you have been top 10, how many in a row now, but I know how competitive you are. Any driver is. How do you balance this great run without winning? And do you get frustrated when you're not winning but still running great race after great race? How do you balance the two?
Absolutely. I'm mad, man. We want to win. That's everything that this sport is about. It's built on, is winning. But I've always thought that if I got an opportunity like this, those years I was running in the Xfinity Series and did not have a chance to win, a top 10 might come once or twice a year, maybe 4 times. I thought, man, if I ever get that opportunity, I will relish every top 10, every time I can lead a couple laps and run in the top 5, I'll be happy. And it's not the case. We're competitors. I'm competitive. I want more and I want to win. And seeing, guys like Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric rack up 4 or 5 wins already is tough. It's really tough to watch, and they're beating me every week, it seems like. So, no, not happy, but I know that we have speed. We should have ran 3rd last week at Road America, which is, if I was a little more prominent on road courses, maybe I could have got through those final restarts a little better and gotten up there. I was only able to get back to 7th. So, it's a tough balance. It's tough to not be so upset, to be happy with what we have, but we want to win, man. That's all it's about. So winning cures all things.
Is half the battle with a road course just embracing the fact that we're racing a road course? Because there are some drivers that hate it, and I think it leads into them not running well on road courses, and other drivers embrace it, and they seem to do better.
Yeah, it is. You really have to just have to not care. Yeah, if I go off track, oh well. Like if I wheel hop and spin out, oh well. But you have to push that limit every corner, every lap, within the realm of what's possible. So I used to be really timid and really scared. That I would wheel hop and break the transmission, or I would downshift wrong, and I would really be just so slow on my upshifts and my downshifts. I was giving up time, and now I look at my crew chief and our team president right before the race, and I tell them, like, on these road courses, I don't know if I'm bringing this car back. I don't know if I'm bringing this transmission back with all 4 gears still in it, or if I'm going to have a box of neutrals. It's just, for me to go fast, I've got to go, abuse the equipment, and that's how road courses seem to be won. So really pushing my limits to just go as fast as I can, and hopefully stay on track and be there at the end.
Ross, I think we might have something here. A box of neutral cereal, some sort of watermelon flavored. I don't know if you go with almond milk with that, but I think we may be onto something there. When you give that talk to your crew chief and to the owner and say, I don't know if I'm bringing it back, do they look at you funny, or is the look now different because maybe that look would have been different a year ago? That look now is confidence in you?
It is, yeah. They and that's what's so great about Colleague Racing. Matt Colleague owning this deal. He really just wants to win. He calls it trophy hunting. He wants to win trophies. He doesn't. That's why he's in NASCAR. So that's the best kind of owner to be. As long as he's on my side, he will let me go do that. And as long as he believes in me that I'm going to do the best I can, I'm not going to tear it up on purpose. I'm going to go push this race car. And we might have to replace a few extra parts after this race than AJ Allmendinger or Justin Haley, who are a little more fine-tuned on road courses and a little more polished. I might wear out a few extra parts and pieces, and they're good with it. My crew chief, he doesn't have to pay for it. He just wants to go win as well. So he's like, go for it, man. We'll fix it. So as long as Matt and Chris Rice, as long as they keep believing in me, then this motto and for road courses will work.
Ross, we could talk to you for a long time, but we know you're pressed for time. Safe travels to Daytona, and best of luck on the road course.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, Ross.
Chastain, the Watermelon Man, and as Mark mentioned, 11 straight top 10s, 16 out of 17 races he's been in the top 10 this year. Still looking for that win, though. It's been a little over a year, Mark, since he won at Daytona, but that was on the 2.5-mile super speedway where he runs really well. Had a top 10 in the 500 last year, won on the Xfinity Series there last year. But this is racing. This is where they do the 24 hours. They use this course on the infield here. This will be different.
Well, David, I just want to hand it to you. And for those that caught this live, it was your tweets that let people know. You included me. You included Ross.
I did.
You got it done, David. I mean,
I had 4 ats in the tweet. Miller, Moulton, Ross, and the radio station.
Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah.
All grown up.
And
And 5, Twitch also had the Twitch at in there. Yeah. We're almost ready to get rid of our social media guy. All right. I'm about ready to take over.
Look at that. 2020. Bringing David to 2005.
Yep. I'm only a generation behind now. Yep. I'm getting there. I'm out of the 20th century, folks.
David is where his daughter was in the first grade as far as social media goes.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
That is fantastic.
I'm hoping by the end of the year to maybe be in middle school. That's a goal of mine. By Christmas, could I be in middle school when it comes to social media? I don't know. That's a big ask. 11, 12 years old. By then, they're just about ready to hack into the Pentagon computers at that age. Only need a couple more years of seasoning.
Well done.
Ross Chastain joining us here on Miller and Moulton. You and I follow him, and they have the stages to the racing, and he'll be racing second in a stage. He'll win a stage. He'll run third, or he's had this where he's 7th, and then he's 3rd, and he's gaining speed. And you and I are both like, he's going to win. And
if I see the name Briscoe, he's not going to win, and that's what really sucks. But I like that Ross has been on with us enough, and I feel comfortable with most people asking the question I asked. But I felt comfortable asking the question about winning with Ross and getting an honest answer, that he would tell it to us straight, and he did. I'm mad. I want to win. You play to win the game. And it's fun hearing it, but he's 3rd. The 2 guys above him have 9 combined wins. He has 0.
Correct. He's only 63 points back in 3rd because he's been so consistent. But I don't know if there's been a race this year where it's been the fastest car. It just seems as if, like you heard that we look for the 6 seconds of truth, Mark. Do you remember when he said that one little sentence? We're just looking for a little more speed.
Yep.
Deep down, he knows there's one of those 2 guys has brought just a little bit more to the track than him. And he's gotten unlucky. He was in line to win a couple and some late cautions, and the restarts have not necessarily been.
No, because he actually had a lead in one race where I think he could have held off whomever it was, but all of a sudden you get that restart, and in those situations, me, the NASCAR guy that I am, speed comes to the top quickly, David.
Okay, good poll question. Who's more inept? Mark Miller, the race fan, David Moulton, the social media guy.
I might throw that up right now as an emergency afternoon poll question. It's very good. Based on our interview with Ross Chastain, that's a hell of a question.
I'll say this. I think before this sports year started, for as inept as I am at social media, I was still better equipped at that than you were talking racing. But this guy is single-handedly responsible, along with NASCAR, starting up in May and doing midweek racing. The combination of the Melon Man and NASCAR doing midweek racing has actually turned you into a borderline gearhead.
Add the fact that my son is a gearhead.
Right.
And that's what's done it to you. This unbelievable aligning of the stars, David.
Crazy.
And I have passed you like you were standing still.
Right.
I mean, I've got tires and I've got the engine, and you can't keep up.
Right. I'm on old tires, and I didn't pit. And you went in and got 4 new ones. All right. And I am just getting right by me.
Yep.
There you go.
Like a young Jeff Gordon right now.
That way to go, Mark. Way to talk it. Yep. Way to talk it. Way to feel it.
And you know what? We're going to end right now because I don't know how much I've got left in the tank, David.
Oh, I know you got nothing left in the tank. You have barely enough to cross the finish line on a green-white checkered. Miller and Moulton.
Which is the way every damn race ends now.
Yeah,
I mean, NASCAR has turned into the NBA. I mean, it really, for those, I just got to watch the last 2 minutes of the NBA game. You know what? I just got to watch the last 10 laps of the NASCAR race. Tell me where, if I watch the start, I catch 2 stage ends, I can go take a nap until there's 10 laps left.
Right, because somebody's going to bring out the caution, and then, oh, my goodness, it's another green-white checker.
You got it. Kind of like this show. We're pretty much a green-white checker.
We really do. We come sliding across the finish line every damn day.
Sometimes if you
we're on tires, sometimes we're on the roof.
If you think about our show prep, it's kind of the same way. Green-white checker. Let's go.
Tell you what, our show prep is old tires. I will tell you that. Today was the day when coming up. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
Watching baseball last night, and I was like, it feels like baseball. It is baseball. I don't think we missed the fans. And as we scale down the cost because the revenue is going to be far less without fans, we do realize that sports at least can distract for this period of time.
Doug Gottlieb, afternoons at 3.
And Mark, I'm guessing Roto would really like to do it because he obviously, David went in for his thing, had a kidney removed. Roto had a kidney transplant. He was in pretty dire straits, and everything seems to be going well. I've not heard from him in a while. I think David has kept a little closer tabs, but I think Roto would be really excited to do something. Well, absolutely, Arch. I mean, the bump draft is obviously, we're talking about pushing the car in front of us to go around them, and the side draft obviously is a whole different situation. We're running more neck and neck than we are running from a standpoint of front and back. Is that good enough for you, Arch?
Can sell you a new car for less. 2020 Kia Forte LXS lease, just $49 per month. That's right, a new car for just $49.
On a 1 to 10, what are you giving me there, Arch?
Just $13,990. Yes, $13,990.
That at least good for a 7? Do I pass? I think that's if you were the teacher, would you pass me with that answer? There you go. That's all I want is a 2.0, Arch. I'm not going to grad school. I just want the piece of paper and get the hell out of here.
At Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600.
Getting quizzed on NASCAR stuff during the break, David.
Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level? Looking to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning?
Can you describe the difference in the pump draft and side drafting?
He said getting close. He gave me a 7. I told him all I'm looking for, David, is a 2.0. I'm not going to NASCAR grad school here. I just want to pass the course.
You're at least in NASCAR middle school. That's good.
That's what I said 6th grade, but yes.
That's okay. Qualifies.
World-class athletic trainer and founder of Hydro Athletics, Stephen DeViti, will coach you or your child through a unique program of high-intensity, low-impact, results-driven hydroathletic training using the latest in resistance technology and equipment, safely in compliance with CDC guidelines. Group or one-on-one sessions, short and long-term programs for beginners through elite professional athletes of any sport. Step up your game and enroll now. Find Stephen DeViti Hydro Athletics on Instagram or visit asc-florida.com. When we talk the talk, this is what we talk about.
He's talking about right and wrong.
We back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We're Fox Sports Radio. And when we talk the talk,
A lot of sports stuff to talk about.
we back it up. Good sports talk radio on Fox Sports Radio.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. There's lots of new air conditioning commercials about ductwork and attics that are all about hot air. These commercials are sales scams and they're designed to scare people about mold and sell you new ductwork. These people aren't experts in air conditioning. They're only experts in sales. Real experts are NATE certified mechanics, and they're experts in the entire air conditioning system. Don't fall for the sales scams and keep these scammers out of your attics. NATE stands for North American Technician Excellence, and unless your air conditioning guy is a NATE certified mechanic, he's second best to us. The duct cleaning and duct sealing scams now include duct replacement scams, and they're just sales scams to separate you from your money.
So right now our poll is basically 50-50.
Yep. I just saw it.
1942. License CACO 57313. Kobe, the most trusted name in the business since 1949.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection.
Hey!
DRM Roofing.
That 50 Shades Away site made its way to Naples, Florida.
License number CCC 1326954.
Wait a minute, what?
There's a website that Rex Chapman likes to. It's 50
Yeah.
Shades of Way of all the. They got somebody in Naples dropping a few you know what.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
Ten minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Adam Fisher, Naples Daily News, big meeting going on in a couple of hours, and I believe in Gainesville. And it's open to the public, yet at the same time, they don't want a whole lot of people there, and you got to socially distance, and so it's a bit of a mess.
Here's the deal. Not to interrupt, David. Here's the deal. You can't go. I mean, you can go. You don't want to go. What you want to do for full enjoyment of this, and I would never recommend this for anything else. You've got to watch it on YouTube for the comments.
Here we go. You got to stream it.
You've got to stream this on YouTube. In fact, I would be willing to watch it on a different computer and have the Twitch chat room open while we watch it to discuss it. Because this is...
You're not suggesting we do an FHSAA watch party.
Oh, yeah, I am. Only if I can get Cassio to come in our room, because his comments are priceless for this.
Oh, my goodness.
He'll get us all arrested, but it will be fantastic.
We'll end up on Barstool.
Time now. You're right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're right. Time now for...
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, David. A lot of stuff, and I got a lot of stuff I think you want to chime in on. When I went through these, I think there's some added things you're going to give us today, not to put a lot of pressure on you. But today in 1873, Field and Stream begins publishing. I didn't know Kurt Gowdy was alive then.
I was going to say, and I sent in a coupon.
1936, U.S. beats Canada for the inaugural gold at the Berlin Games. Final score, 19-8.
What were we playing?
Men's basketball.
Gotcha.
Men's basketball, 19-8. Outdoors in poor conditions. The Appalachian Trail was completed today in 1937. 2,000 miles, 14 states, Georgia to Maine. Today was actually the day that Japan unconditionally surrendered, too, to end World War II, 1945, for the record.
Well, that's because we dropped those two bombs a few days apart, only about a week earlier.
I got you. Just letting you know.
Took a month, I believe, to negotiate it. They did it on the ship,
right,
which I believe was in September, but...
1962 was a bad day for Pete Best because he was fired by the Beatles. Didn't work out well for him, worked out pretty well for Ringo.
Yes.
3 years later, the Beatles would tape an appearance for the Ed Sullivan Show. The one thing I found interesting about that is they played 5 songs on the Ed Sullivan Show. I mean, could you imagine a Letterman or Jimmy Fallon or any of these shows now where the musical artist played 5 songs? They get 1. You get 3.5 minutes, and let's make it snappy, if you know what I mean.
Of course, the songs were all 2.5 minutes.
Doesn't matter.
Right, but I'm with you.
Doesn't matter. By the way, that day when the Beatles were doing Ed Sullivan, the number 1 song in the land was Sonny and Cher's I Got You, Babe. And you all know the words. Don't act like you don't. 1966, Cleveland Stadium's first rock concert. It was the Beatles. Nowhere to go but down after that. 1969, your Mets fall 9.5 games back, but would go on to win the pennant.
I was going to say the Black Cat appears in a couple weeks in the series against the Cubs.
1971, at age 35, Bob Gibson no-hits the Pirates. That same day, The Who released their 5th studio album called Who's Next. Critics say it's the best they'd ever done. I couldn't find the whole story on this, but today in 73, Johnny Unitas filed a $725,000 lawsuit against the Baltimore Colts.
Was he still with the Colts, or had he moved on and this was his final year with the San Diego Chargers?
I think it's his last year with the Chargers, but that's a pretty big amount of money in 73 to be suing a team.
Got that right.
Lanny Watkins in 77 made more money on Tuesday, but he gets his first major on Sunday as he wins the PGA at Pebble.
Amazingly, his only major.
Yep. Won in sudden death over Gene Littler. 81, Michael Schmidt, David's favorite player, even though he pounded his favorite team, hits his 300th home run. It was against the Mets. David, who did he hit it off
of? Do I have to guess?
Well, yes.
Nino Espinosa.
Mike Scott. Thought for sure you'd have that one for me.
Oh, wow. That's right. We had him before we sent him to the Astros.
88 PGA, Jeff Sluman wins over Zinger, his only major. 91.
At Oak Hill in Rochester, and Sluman from Rochester.
91, David Winfield becomes the 23rd to get to 400 home runs. 93, Reggie. It was Reggie Day in New York. They finally retire number 44. Nick Price wins the PGA in 94. I'm telling you, you read PGA championships as if it's a bunch of guys that they won a major. And I know Price won 2 PGAs, but it is the tournament won by the other guys, if you will.
The interesting thing about Reggie Day is the Yankees did it right as he was going into the Hall of Fame. And I think he had just gone into the Hall of Fame a couple of weeks earlier.
Keegan Bradley in 11 wins his PGA at Atlanta Athletic. Justin Rose in 2016 wins the inaugural gold medal. Way to go, Justin. And Andy Murray wins the inaugural gold medal wins the tennis gold medal, not inaugural. I have trouble with those being Olympic sports. You don't. You love them.
Yeah.
They drive me crazy.
I think it's great.
If you're born today, you share your birthday with Doc Holliday. I mean, that's a good one to have. Born today in 1851. Wellington Mara, born today in 1916. The great Earl Weaver would have been 90 today, David. David Crosby, born today in 41. Steve Martin is 75 years old. From the far side, Gary Larson is 70. Mark Fidrich, born today in 1954. Your guy, Rusty Wallace, born today in 1956. Irvin Magic Johnson is 61. Holly Berry is 54 years old today. And Tim Tebow, happy 33rd birthday. That is, today was the day when, on this August the 14th of 2020. We'll talk Florida sports. Adam Fisher of the Naples Daily News next.
We are Sports.
Let's face it.
You had to go Holly Berry, did you?
New routine.
It was either that or Ed O'Bannon. What the hell did you want out of me?
Trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank.
Could have forgotten all the other birthdays.
I had Mila Kunis, too, but I'd rather go Holly Berry for you.
And nothing's more important to a guy's
You know what I figured out doing this? Mila Kunis is, that's who Sabrina Katz looks a little bit like.
For men that get low T.
She's got a little bit of that look going for her.
Improved mood.
I think she's got a much bigger face.
Most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make.
I can't believe she's still
I've
here.
been a patient of C4MH.com.
She must not be sending out.
That's what I think it is. That's what I think it is.
The energy to work out from home, and that'll put you.
Because the fact that she's not in Miami or Tampa doing something right now is shocking to me.
Give me a month, I get you out of here. Where do you want to go?
Well, that's what I told you yesterday when we were taping Ross. She was doing the. Like I said, I didn't like the fake eyelashes from the desk, but she looked just fine reading copy at the desk. I mean, she does the stand-ups fine. She does the sit-downs fine. She should be a star.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Star.
A star. I mean, because she's absolutely breathtakingly beautiful, and she looks good. And even here's the other thing. I don't know about your wife, but when my wife watches her, she likes her. Like the same way they like Devin. Eve likes her. Thinks she's cute and bubbly. Nothing about her that bothers her.
Right. They don't find her threatening.
Right.
And there's no one who picks apart on-air talent quite like women.
Right.
Women are so nasty towards other women, it's unbelievable.
Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home.
Guys are sexist, but women are nasty.
Oh, yeah.
Petty and nasty.
The
prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
The sports station with balls and strikes. We also have strikes. WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida.
We are Fox Sports.
Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Hear you just fine.
Good. I got a headset in.
Oh, right on. So, what time does the YouTube thing? What can I start streaming this thing for just pure enjoyment?
10 a.m. is when they start.
I think I'm going to put it on. I think I'm going YouTube on the big screen just to watch the chat room today.
It sounds funny, but it's going to be like 6 hours long, so I don't know how long you'll last.
I can leave it on in the background just to watch people go nuts.
You're right. That's what I plan on doing.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
And Moulton.
Look at you. I'm the man of the house.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Hope your week has gone well and you've got some fun planned this weekend. Stay safe and be well. And thanks for being with us here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming once again at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. The good, the bad, and the ugly, about 45 minutes away. It's a pleasure to welcome back Adam Fisher of the Naples Daily News. You can follow him on Twitter at NDN_Adam, NDN_Adam. Adam, how are you? How's the family? Hope things are well with you and everybody.
Family's doing all right. We're staying safe. Just looking forward to a little resolution today, maybe with what we've been writing about and what everybody's talking about when it comes to high school sports.
All right, there are three options, Adam. One is starting practice here in August 24th, I believe?
That's right.
And then one in September and then pushing it till November. Do you have a hunch as to where they're going to go from anything that you've heard, read, people that you've talked to? Of the three options, which one seems like where they're going to go, or are we just going to have to guess until they finish?
Well, first off, what I found very interesting is when the FHSAA released their agenda for today, they have dropped the second option. There was not a lot of support from anyone around the state surrounding the second option because it eliminated the state playoffs. It said schools can just kind of start whenever they want and have local tournaments. So there's really only the two options now, one to start August 24th as planned, and the other one to start, it said November 30th, but the FHSAA has said that date is flexible, so it could be anywhere from, October, late September. But to answer your question, what do I feel like? I honestly think that maybe they're just going to go ahead and file forward and say, you know what, we're going to stick with August 24th. It does throw a wrench in the works with all these college football conferences stopping play. And the FHSAA Sports Medicine Advisory Committee met again this week, and they recommended once again to push the start of football and volleyball back. So that could throw a wrench in it, but if I had to pick, I think they will say, let's go ahead and start practice August 24th.
All right, since we pretty much have an idea as to how things would go if they start in 10 days, can we examine the other option? How would that work? When the season starts after Thanksgiving, does that mean games start after Thanksgiving or practice starts after Thanksgiving? This becomes a winter sport then this year, high school football. That's essentially the second option, right?
That's correct. So what they would do is no matter when it starts, again, the date the FHSAA threw out there was November 30th to start practices. Now, then you would need 2 weeks of practices before games started. And what they would do is they would just condense every single sports season, that's fall, winter, and spring, to about 5 weeks of regular season play. However, they would still be able to go ahead and play the state tournaments as planned. Now, again, they're exploring some different options. If, the numbers for coronavirus cases and positivity testing goes down really sharply in September, maybe they can start in October. But the way they put it out there, yes, football would start in playing games in December, and it would bleed over Christmas break, and the state championships would be in February. The spring sports, their state championships would be all the way into June, which is not that late. I mean, baseball bleeds pretty far into May anyways. And also it would flip-flop. It would put golf and swimming into the spring season. Not because there's any risk of those sports in terms of coronavirus and COVID-19, but just because those are the sports where schools are using other facilities, and those facilities may or may not be open right now. I know I've heard in Collier County, teams are having trouble golf teams having trouble getting on courses because they're reserving those courses only for members. So those sports would be flip-flop.
And just at one point a few days ago, I thought I saw where there was a proposal to take 3 of the fall sports, move them to winter, and take 3 of the winter sports or even spring sports and move them to fall. My understanding now is that that's not an option. There would be no fall sports. We would essentially have a double winter season and then spring.
Yeah, under the third option, that's pretty much the way they would do it. They would keep the fall sports as is. They would just start them much later, and it would be a shorter regular season. The proposal to start August 24th, that would just eliminate the first 2 weeks of football season, but then everything would just pick up and go ahead as normal.
And Mark, obviously we know, and we have bemoaned the 2 and 3 sport athlete that they don't exist as much as they used to, but you do have many. A football player also plays basketball. You have a volleyball player that will play basketball on the women's side. And then if the sports are on top of one another, these kids will have to choose this year.
Well, and that was the question I had, Adam. So you're telling me they're going to so if we were to move things to the fall, you're telling kids that they only get to play one sport. They're not going to be able to play multiple sports in the same season. Is that correct?
That's correct. Again, the seasons would be abbreviated. So, you could possibly, play a fall sport and then sit out a few weeks for whatever the winter's going to be, then come back and play spring, run track or something. What is interesting, if we push football back, let's say it starts in November, the NCAA signing day for Division I is in mid-December now. We've heard from players around the state, not necessarily in Southwest Florida, the big-time commits that are planning to early enroll at these Division I schools. They wouldn't play. Why risk an injury and losing your 4-year college scholarship to play 2 weeks of high school football before your signing day in December? So maybe the NCAA, does something different with their signings, especially if there's not going to be a lot of college football right now. But that's another thing to watch. If the high school football season gets pushed back, do we see the best players in the area opt not to play because they're going off to college in a few weeks?
And I don't know how many of the players in the area would affect. It would certainly affect players in the state. There's no doubt about that, Adam. But, David, what concerns me most about this season, and Adam both, how is a kid in that short of a time going to be able to attend 3 different high schools to play 3 different sports? Because that's Florida athletics.
It'll mess up their recruiting. These coaches' recruitings and these transfers will actually have to stay at one school for 1 year, man. It's crazy.
You think the NCAA transfer portal's bad. The FHSAA transfer portal basically is a revolving door of which school you can go to whenever you want. Back to the spring part of this, though, Adam. Look, how important do you think, I know they're getting the advice to delay it, but we all know, and we've talked about it at the NCAA level, it's about money. Football funds these high school programs, too. Has there been any talk about fans? Is that going to be up to each county? How are they going to try to not just only have football, but have it so these schools can get the money that they get from football that pays for most of their other programs.
Well, you're absolutely right. Football is just like in college. It supports the entire athletic department. We're talking, uniforms, travel for the girls teams, for the cross-country teams, for every team. I haven't heard a ton of talk about that yet. I think everyone's kind of in a waiting pattern, waiting to see. But it is going to be, county by county. If somehow the teams in Miami get to play football, which is a very big if considering the severity of the COVID-19 over there, they may not have fans. However, some of the more rural counties in North Florida that their numbers are not that bad, they might have a full packed bleachers on Friday night. I think, though, right now everyone – and there's been no decision from the FHSAA. The FHSAA is really big about leaving it in each individual school district's hands, and that's what's kind of created this mess to begin with. They haven't come out and just made a decision, and that's why I think they'll say you can start on August 24th. They'll say, hey, if you're ready, you can start. If not, no big deal. You don't have to. But concerning fans, they haven't said anything, and I think we'll just have to see what Collier County and Lee County decide.
He's Adam Fisher, Naples Daily News. You can follow Adam on Twitter at NDN_Adam. Have you done an informal straw poll of the local high school coaches and or ADs? I mean, what's your sense? Do they want to start in 10 days, or do they want to push it back and try plan B?
From all I've heard, I mean, everyone wants to start. These are football guys. They want to get out there and play football. That's what they do. So a lot of them are pushing for it. I don't know if you guys have seen or even talked about that petition that's going around online. Over 40,000 people have signed it to play football. And that's one of the reasons I think the FHSAA is going to say, let's go ahead and go. I think they're going to kind of cave to the pressure that people really want to get out there and play. So if they have their option, and one thing to watch, let's say the FHSAA pushes it back. There's talk of some of the private schools around the state, even in the area, saying, well, screw it. We're not going to be in the FHSAA. We're just going to do our own thing, which they're allowed to do because they're not beholden to any school boards or school districts or government entities. They can do whatever the heck they want. So that's another thing to watch out for.
Well, isn't there also a chance, though, that if they decide to start in 10 days, that the Miami-Dade schools may opt out of the FHSAA because they don't feel they can play now, that their only chance to play is to push it back to after Thanksgiving, and that if the FHSAA does this, that they may say, well, heck with it. They'll actually become Ohio State and Nebraska and leave. I mean, I heard that, Adam. Do you think that that's a real possibility today?
I think it's a possibility. It's something they're exploring. The Miami-Dade County School Board just voted to explore leaving the FHSAA. Now, that sounds a lot stronger than it is. It's just a preliminary, let's see, let's look at it. But that is a possibility. Another possibility is the FHSAA says, hey, we're going to start August 24th, and our local teams may not start August 24th. That's just the optional start date. The athletic directors of both school boards here, Mark Rosenbaum in Collier County, Dave LaRosa in Lee County, are both very, very extremely cautious. They have been in favor of pushing schools back and the season back from the beginning. I don't know how far back they want to push it back, but if the FHSAA says we can start August 24th, they may say, well, we're going to wait a few weeks to see how the kids do in classes, how much spread of the virus we see. And then I think people here are going to lose their minds if the FHSAA says you can play, but the local guys say, well, we're not sure about playing just yet. So many options going on, man. It's going to be a crazy and very long meeting here at 10 o'clock.
All right. Well, there is word out to switch from high school to college in the A-Sun. A story out of the Richmond Times-Dispatch last night says that the A-Sun is planning on making the official announcement this morning that they are going to postpone all fall sports. Are you hearing those same things, Adam?
Well, I know that they have an announcement planned for 9 a.m., and I know that their athletic directors of the A-Sun schools and the presidents of the A-Sun schools met yesterday. You usually don't plan a press conference to announce that everything's fine and normal. So I'm anticipating, yes, that they cancel their seasons, which means no SECU fall sports. Now, I don't know what that means going forward. I don't know if they're going to try to flip-flop that. The seasons we're talking about, cross-country, soccer, volleyball, there's possibility to maybe flip those to the spring. Who knows? But yes, 9 a.m., the A-Sun does have an announcement planned.
And realistically, you could move those seasons to the spring. At certain schools, it'd be an issue that, like FGCU doesn't do track, but they do cross country. You might have cross country and track on top of one another at certain schools where it would be an issue at FGCU. There are certain players on the volleyball team who also play beach volleyball. And if those two seasons were on top of one another, well, they couldn't play both. So the beach volleyball team might be really affected. Have you gotten any indication, Adam, as to which way FGCU would go? Would they be inclined to just not play those sports this year, or are they going to try to do everything they can to play them at some point?
I haven't heard specifically from FGCU. I know obviously they're all one with the ASUN. They're going to fall in line. So whatever they decided yesterday, they'll stick with that. I know that the NCAA president yesterday, they announced at about 5:30 as the ASUN presidents were meeting, the NCAA announced that they were going to cancel the fall championships, just not enough teams to participate. When they did that, NCAA President Mark Emmert said in his message that the priority now is saving the winter and spring season, because those are the teams that had their championships canceled last year when coronavirus came in March and killed everything. So I think the emphasis is going to be on making sure those spring and winter sports get done. And then if they can move to the fall, they'll do their best. But, they're going to try to do winter and spring first.
Adam, are you having a watch party for the FHSAA meeting? I mean, Miller and Moulton are thinking about it. We're thinking of maybe even doing a live 6-hour Twitch show, just reading the comments from the party. That's all. I mean, not even talking about what's going on at the meeting, just reading the comments out loud that are taking place about the meeting itself. Because let me tell you, you want to honk some people off. An HOA meeting or the FHSAA meeting. I mean, those are your top two get honked, and a Cape Coral City Council meeting. Those are your top three honk people off meetings that you can have, Adam.
Well, like I said, it's going to be, I'm anticipating a lot of chaos because, the best case scenario is they say, hey, okay, we're going to go ahead August 24th, and I think it'll be fine. But if anything other than that, people are going to be very, very upset. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying people are pushing for this August 24th start date. I am going to watch the meeting, but I got a whole lot of coffee ready. It's going to be a long time. It's going to be a 5-6 hour affair.
Get your thumbs ready, baby. Get your thumbs ready. Adam Fisher, Naples Daily News. Follow him on Twitter, especially today, at @NDN_Adam, @NDN_Adam. Between what it is the ASUN's going to do and the FHSAA, Adam will be very busy. Adam, thanks for making time for us, particularly at this hour. Hope you and the family are all doing well.
Hey, I appreciate it. Always love talking to you guys. Thank you very much.
Adam Fisher, Naples Daily News, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. And as we've said, we don't go local a ton, all right? But this does affect every single high school in our area, and which therefore also would affect, middle schools and beyond. So, I mean, this does affect an awful lot of people here.
Well, it's funny that not so much the middle school. This is what could be really interesting, David. We could have no high school sports. We could have certain conferences playing college football, and yet we're going to have Pop Warner football in every state in the country because they're not governed by anybody. All of these AAUs and Pop Warners, they're run by parents at the end of the day. I mean, I know they have some sort of governing body, but come on. The travel leagues of the world are run by the parents of the world. They're playing. They've been playing. We've had baseball tournaments and softball tournaments and basketball tournaments going on for months nationwide. And that's the dilemma that I think the FHSAA is at, because while their medical people tell them to push back, there are 40,000 people with no credentials whatsoever that are telling them to play, and they're scared out of their mind to not listen to the 40,000 when the ones who might have the most credentials are saying wait. And that's where we've run into, with so many different opinions and a vacuum of leadership on this at so many different levels, this is what you get to. You get to people constantly arguing. You get to people constantly not knowing what's right. And if I were to bet your $20 or my $20, and let's be honest, if it's mine, I'm going to lose it, because this has not been a good return to sports for my pocketbook, and I've taken it all in stride.
And for the record, Miller and Moulton on the qualifying rounds of the NHL, boy, did we have a rough qualifying round, the two of us.
Rough.
Right. I'm off to a pretty good start. I think you are as well here in the first 3 days of the quote unquote NHL playoffs. But boy, did we have a rough qualifying round.
We did. And thank goodness for the Columbus Blue Jackets, because it was the only bet I won in the first round. And unless baseball season gets canceled, it's not going to be much better. So you probably want to go the other way here. But I believe that they are going to vote to start playing August 24th today.
Yeah, they practice on the 24th, play whenever, and yeah, regular season might get reduced by a couple games, but everybody will get in their district games, and you could still have the state championships as scheduled. I agree with you. I expect the vote to go that way. Hey, we have not discussed this, but we have discussed it at the college level a lot, the financial hit. And how certain universities have already sent emails and letters out to their boosters going, Jerry Lewis telethon time. We need money. We're going to get crushed here. We need you to, and I know you've got tough times, and that's why they've just laid out, this is how much money we're going to lose. You got to trust us on this. If you can, please help, donate. Now, I don't know if boosters have, but Mark, do you think financially, let's just say this goes badly this year in the high school ranks. COVID ends up winning, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And this is a very bad financial year from a sports standpoint with just Southwest Florida high schools. We'll just keep it in our area. Do you think that it could lead to, out of necessity, essentially the privatization of high school sports?
Well, David, it's something you and I have been talking about for a decade.
We have. We have talked that. We just haven't brought it up specifically about this year, but we have wondered. I mean, come on now. School districts, local communities from tax dollars and you name it, they're having to spend far more money because of COVID and they're taking in far less. So next year, if you don't have it this year, you're definitely going to have budget issues next year. Definitely going to have it.
I grew up in Michigan where millages would be on the ballot. And millages determined whether or not basically your high school was going to have sports. And at times, certain millages didn't pass. And it was when the Catholic schools got really good at sports because an entire district would leave to go to a private school to play.
Right.
We're not much for raising taxes.
No.
In particular to pay for schools. When we have the vacuum that we have here, we are not a community that revolves around its high school sports. We're, in fact, a community that couldn't give a damn about its high school sports. I was going nuts when I lived in Bonita Springs at my last house, and the gated community was out picketed in front of where the high school was going to be because, damn it, the one thing I can't have near my neighborhood is a high school. That would be the end. How could I have, hang on, let me get the note, an exciting and comfortable place to live if there's a high school next to me?
Because there may be 6 Friday nights a year where they're making all sorts of noise and the lights are on, never mind the soccer matches and the whistles that'll constantly be going
constantly.
Off
even though I can't hear anymore, I can't have it. So, David, I think yes, I do, because I don't know where, if they lose money as badly as what you're talking about, I don't know if it's privatization so much, but self-funded.
Well, but that's to me the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a Catholic school kid. In order for me to play high school hockey, David, we did car washes and sold meat and cheese, and you know all the crap that you had to do to play sports growing up.
But at most public schools, there's the budget, and you make do with what it is that you have. And yeah, if you want to go on a trip, if you want to do something extra, well, then you do the fundraiser and you raise the extra money, and then therefore you're allowed to do something extra. But in most public schools, everything gets funded from taxpayer dollars. And what I'm wondering is, could COVID once again lead us to a point where sports is going to be deemed, I don't know if we can afford sports, quite frankly. We've got some serious issues going on. And as you mentioned, we don't raise tax dollars for schools down here. We don't. I mean, hell, we didn't raise it for a trauma center when you and I first got to the area. So, I mean, if you think they're going to raise it for schools countywide, you're nuts. All right. So I'm wondering if this could lead, Mark, to, hey, Cape Coral High School, we need to raise for parents, grandparents, fans of, if we want to play sports this year, it's going to cost X amount of money. And whether you do it in which we need to raise whatever let's just say for, you know what, in giggles, it's $100,000. I know it's more than that, but let's just say it's $100,000. And I don't know if you raise it for everybody or if each sport has to fend for themselves.
And it would probably be each sport fending for itself would be my guess, because then the parents of said sport who have the means would be able to put up or shut up. You know, there are now the schools in Lee County that are actually selling advertising. I think Bonita's probably in great shape because of their visibility on the interstate and the money they're getting from Lee Memorial. So yes, I do think that would help. But again, I think they're playing in August. But the other thing that I've brought up to many people and said on the air several times, you know, we've got 2 schools in Collier County that have bands of over 250 people. High school sports is not just the football players. It's the band as well. So you want to be socially distant at these 2 high schools? Who are you going to put in besides the football players and the band? Because you're about out of room.
Well, and let's face it, we're playing football because of the money it raises. So in theory, we want to put as many people in these stands as possible. And, you know, also my favorite, charge as much as possible for parking. I'm guessing the $3 high school parking's going up to $5.
Sure. Look at you. How did you turn this into parking fees? How the hell did you? I want to jump through the damn screen and stab you in the neck right now. I cannot believe that you just brought this up to. Help me,
I'm
people.
just saying, got to raise money. Got to raise revenue. Got to raise revenue. Yep, parking. There's a way to do it. Extra $2 a car. I mean, it was $3 when my daughter was at South. It was $3 to park. I'm guessing that's got to be a minimum of $5 now. Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the ugly is roughly 20 minutes away. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
A date which will live in infamy. People who knock these buildings down will hear all of it.
Amazing comebacks. That inspired the American story. And before you know it, another great American comeback story
in stopping the virus
will be in the books.
We will have a great victory.
Our story continues.
And return to our lives, great lives.
On Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's that time again to hear from our good friend, Dave Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. And we love talking to Dave. We know that when he calls, something special's going on at Floor Meisters. Dave, sounds like you have a lot of that very popular Cortec that everyone is looking for and wants in their home.
Yes, we do, and we've got about 6 or 7 truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase, and we're going to guarantee a freeze of the prices on all our in-stock Cortec. We're not going to go up 50 cents a square foot, and we're going to save it for our customers.
So when it comes to Cortec, it's amazing the selection that you'll find at Floor Meisters. They now have 100 colors for you to choose from, all ready to be installed.
Yes, and we stock 100 colors of Cortec.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My Shower Door has just opened their 8th Florida showroom, and it's conveniently located in Cape Coral. With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland River to Lake O and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit Towboat US Cape Coral.
Like you, I always love when we're getting texts and calls during a segment. Like, call me when you get to commercial break. Okay.
Who?
Voters have the option to cast their ballot by mail or vote
college.
at any early voting site.
Gotcha.
Visit colliervotes.com.
Well, sorry, we know what you're doing. You're not announcing a presser at 9 to say you're playing.
From home or to find
Right. Well, but other details though. So he just so that we would know.
Well, can you say it?
No. And I asked specifically. I go. So you're not saying anything publicly after 9 o'clock? He's like, right.
So, thanks for the call.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than
Hey, Rhea.
the single greatest issue for guys with
Right after the show. Do you have 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not 3. I have 2.
Okay, good. I'll make it short.
I have 47, David. I have nothing between 9 o'clock and...
Oh, no, Mark, the maid's here. I mean, I just saw it's big day.
I am the maid, okay?
You guys got rid of your maid?
In March?
No. You did?
I've been cleaning, like, I'm the one, I clean the house. It's my job. I am now...
So you don't do once a month or
no.
every 3 weeks? Oh.
House has never been cleaner. I'm amazing.
No, she'll get rid of me before she gets rid of me.
Yeah, well, I do a better job than our maid. That's why. Not close. And Maddie's great on the
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
stuff I make her do. Awesome. Baseboards.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Your life.
Minutes after the hour. Home stretch of Miller and Moulton for the day and for the week. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live. Sign up for it if you haven't already. The Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels.
Our poll question today brought to you by The Reef on Fort Myers Beach. The Reef. Soapy Tuna playing tonight and Saturday. Get there early so you can see through the smoke at The Reef on Fort Myers Beach.
All right. I just want to make sure everybody knows the Reef doesn't exist anymore.
Hasn't existed in 15 years.
Right. Where it's fake sponsors that don't want you to head to Fort Myers Beach looking for soapy tuna.
I would like you to. I would like the Reef to be back. Who's with me? That was a great bar. Not a good bar, a great bar. That was as seedy of a joint as there's been in Southwest Florida.
Mark, do you know what that was? Much like what your HOA claims. That was an exciting and comfortable place.
You know what it really was? The poll question is very simply, how much of the NBA playoffs will you be watching? All in from the start, waiting until the conference finals, waiting to the finals, not interested. And while not interested has 55% of the vote, those that are in from the get-go.
There you go.
Tommy, as a Grizzlies fan, loves seeing the kids make the play-in. Now, Portland is in the way.
Yeah, you're not beating Portland.
No, you're not. They're going to be fun. By the way, Memphis is going to be fun to watch.
They are.
I actually like Memphis missing the playoffs, and I'd like to get them a lottery pick so that they get something up front so they get better more quickly. And then Joe says, big Sixers fan. So hopefully they get smoked by Boston. As much as it will hurt, maybe they'll finally get a new coach. Brown is a great guy, but they've reached their ceiling with him. I mean, NBA fans jumping in. They're cannonballing into the pool, David.
I would ask that Sixers fan, though, and don't get me wrong. Listen, if they lose early, they are going to have a new coach, and he's been there a while. But do we really think he's the problem? I mean, I don't think that that's a great, well put together roster. It's got 2 or 3 really talented players. They have no outside game in what has become a perimeter league. I mean, they're
no team was hurt more by losing a piece than the Sixers. Because they got rid of J.J. Redick, and they haven't replaced him. I know they've got a lot of other better players, but they have no one that can come in and make a 3-ball.
I mean, they didn't have enough outside shooting with J.J. Redick.
Correct.
And then they lost him and didn't replace him. I mean, listen, they can win 50 games a year with the roster they have. I just don't know that they can go deep. So to me, Elton Brand, the GM, he can fire the coach all he wants. He's got to pull off a major trade. And Ben Simmons just got hurt. So you're probably not going to get a full dollar for dollar value for Ben Simmons coming off a significant knee injury either. Sixers got issues. And they're going out early, by the way. Celtics are taking them out.
Yes, because they're a team. And
they're better.
They're better. They're a team. And, I think the only question is, can the Bucks, really in the East, to me, the only question that needs to be asked is, the Bucks didn't try in this play-in thing. Can they flip the switch? Because the Bruins didn't try in the round robin. And they were able to flip the switch. Now, they lost to Carolina in game 2, but their top line seems to, and I know they're different sports, but you're finding, the Blues who were on top, they just went and laid an egg against Vancouver.
Yeah.
Had a long talk at the Publix deli counter yesterday with 2 Blues fans, David, about that. Very disappointed. Father and son, the kid had the Blues shirt on, about 18. And I just looked at him, with the mask on, and I just said, man, what happened to your Blues? That caught me by surprise. And he stopped and looked at me, and he said, you. He goes, I am very, and probably anywhere between 18 and 20 years old, and just looked at me very matter-of-factly with mask on, and you could see every part of the look, even though you could only see half of his face. I am very disappointed in what I saw yesterday.
Oh, no, he got that look. He gave that look. That's usually parent to child.
Correct. It's what I do to my 6-year-old once a week to try to justify things.
Oh, no, the teenager giving it to his favorite team that way.
Right.
Oh, talk about reduce grown men to tears. Knees buckle at the, I am very disappointed in you. Oh, no, not that. Please.
No tougher sentence. No tougher sentence in the English language than parent to child saying, I'm very disappointed. It's worse than being mad. Mad we can accept. We can get through mad. We can work past mad. Disappointed is a whole nother level.
My grandfather told me he was disappointed. He told me he was embarrassed in me one time. Oh, my goodness.
Do something on the golf course?
Yeah. I acted like a horse's butt, and I was in a foursome with him and 2 of his friends. I was playing really well, too. Hit a couple of bad shots and,
threw a nutty.
Wasn't going to shoot the score that I wanted to shoot. Yeah. He didn't play golf with me for 2 years.
For 2 years?
2 years, Mark. And, Mark, I was good, and had access to golf courses, good ones in Central Jersey. And I'm like, come on, grandfather, let's go. Nope. And he would just look at me and shake his head like, nope. I was on probation, man, and he wasn't letting me off. He was very disappointed in me.
That is very disappointed.
He's from the greatest generation. They can do the patience thing. They can play. They played the long game with wars, with depressions. They could play the long game.
Because I had the same instance on the golf course somewhere between 7 and 8 years old where I blew a tournament and I was a baby, and my dad gave me the but not 2 years, David. I might have got 2 weeks.
Oh no, 2 years.
Holy blank.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, David, that explains a lot about you. That is more of a window into your soul than anything else. I now know that the Tommy Amaker 2-day hunger strike is not enough for you. It has to be much longer to get anything through that thick melon of yours.
People think because, I can be pretty emotional and what have you that, I can play the long game. Oh, absolutely. I can take something to my death. Oh, yeah. And I learned it between my mother, who's the fiery one, who will, hold a grudge.
She still has a little bit of one against me, and I forgot even what I said.
Oh, heck, I think she's probably got one from me from my senior year of high school. It was a rough year for the 2 of us. But my grandfather just played that slow simmer, long game.
So much worse.
And
anger's great. If they yell at you, you know right where you stand.
And I might have been his favorite person in the world, honestly. I mean, I was right there. I really was. If I wasn't one, I was 1A or 1B.
Yeah, he had a daughter. You're the boy.
Right. He had an only child, and I was the only grandchild. I mean, he was the dad in my life. And it's not like he was mad at me for 2 years. I mean, we watched Giants games together and went out and did other things together.
Wouldn't play golf.
And a year went by, and I was thinking, well, okay, it's new golf season. I mean, come on, he can't hold it for another year. All right. And grandfather, come on, let's go out and play Plainfield. All right. And he just looked at me and literally just looked at me and said, no. Boom. That was it. No explanation needed. Nothing worse than a parent can do to a child. I am very disappointed in you. Oh, no. Please send me to the electric chair. Not this. Not this. I mean, I've got a better chance with the governor than I do of this. Oh, no. See, Mark, because in my house, it lasts a long time. Like, I told you, my mother grounded me a day per minute.
Oh, your punishments and disappointment levels are, David, you reached levels that I can't even imagine.
I mean,
because you and I were both only children.
Right.
And I grew up with a little more means than you did, but, close relationship with my grandfather on my mom's side, much like you. I mean, there's a lot of parallels in our life. Not the punishment. I was grounded once. Once. My mother grounded me for 2 weeks. 5 hours into said grounding in the summertime of me being in the house and pestering her, on day 1 of the grounding, I don't think we got to hour 5 where she looked at me and said, get your ass out of the house now. Took me 5 hours to break her down. 5. Now, my mother's a wonderful woman, much softer than your mom.
You think?
Much softer.
You think? So,
Dad could have held a grounding, but he wasn't home enough really to do it.
Right.
He had things to do. There was a horse collar game at the bar on Bay Street. There was a golf game at Maple Hill.
Right.
The Baywood, I'm sorry. There was a horse collar game at the Baywood. He had a 9-hole match at Maple Hill. Could not be bothered with grounding me. When's your next practice that I can take you to, and when are we going to go hit balls? That's all he really cared about. And do you have time to play 9 today with me?
479-5551. If in your life, all right, that one time that you had parent or grandparent look at you and say, I am very disappointed in you.
I did have that happen once to me. It was my grandmother. Our high school basketball team won the state title. My grandmother was in her Marco Island condo where my mother now lives. I was put in charge of her Michigan condo for my senior year in high school. Nothing like giving a 17-year-old the keys to a 3-bedroom condo.
Oh, boy.
And after the team, high school that I went to, won the state title, I threw a party for the team at the house.
Nice.
My grandmother was nearly kicked out of the condo by the HOA because of, what happened.
Wow.
And she had to fly home to meet with the HOA board basically to save her own ass. And a couple of things were broken, and I was brought to the condo, and my mother wanted to kill me.
My mother would have.
My mother wanted to kill me, but was waiting to kill me so that my grandmother could kill me first, and she could then kill me again. And we got there, and after my mother, screams at me and said words that she's never said to me before, we get to my grandmother, and she looked at me.
Here it comes.
She started weeping.
Oh, my goodness. Look at what you did, Mark. You brought your grandmother to tears.
To tears, and she just said to me, Mark, I am so disappointed in you.
Oh, just stabbed me in the neck.
And then hugged me. And my mother looked at her and stared at her and said, that's it? That's it? That's all you're going to do? Do you know how much you yelled at me about? Can you say something to him? No. And that was it. The car ride home was silent. I'm trying not to laugh because I felt horrible, but I thought I was going to get it, and I got nothing. I got a hall pass.
You should have. Boy. Yeah.
Kind of explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Your parenting and grandparenting was a little different. That's for sure.
That's it. That was my disappointing moment.
479-5551. Feel free to text throughout the weekend that moment in your life. And who was it? Was it a parent? Was it a grandparent? Who was it who said to you, I am so disappointed in you? And your knees buckle when they say it. It's like the worst thing they could say. It's worse than "you're dead to me."
Oh,
because
yeah.
Because you don't believe them. Okay, if they've already say most people when they say that, you're like, give them a couple days.
That's like the old line when you were in college and you got all hammered and you woke up hungover and you went, "I'm never gonna drink again," until the night comes.
But I'm very disappointed in you. Oh, Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the people we're very disappointed in. Ugly. Next on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I don't know if we're going to see a big
My
name
junior
and
and
that would
senior
mean Trevor
years of
Lawrence
high
or Justin
school.
Fields of Ohio
Ouch!
State.
He didn't
You've
play
already
golf with
cemented
me.
your status as a top pick. Are you going to stay? Are you going to risk this? The next few
Guy
weeks are
texted
gonna
in,
be
David is loyal, though,
simmering
simmering since the very
Teams try to get
disappointing
ready for a
Seaver
very,
trade.
very unusual season.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Yep.
Weekdays at 9 a.m.
David, I got to ask you a question because I was looking up A-Sun stuff here and a school popped up.
Bellarmine?
Thank you. When did Bellarmine University join the A-Sun?
This year. This year they were supposed to. This fall season, Mark, were going to be their first games in the A-Sun. First matches, whatever the case may be. I believe they're in Kentucky.
They're in Louisville. They're a Catholic school in Louisville. They only have 2,500 students.
They were a D2 power, and they made the move up. And in some sports, they're pretty good. Like, put it this way, I think they'll be middle of the road in basketball right away. I think they'll be middle of the pack, from what I've been told. And they replaced NJIT.
Oh, yeah, I knew they left, but I just...
And so the A-Sun was hoping, obviously, that they were going to have, 9. They were going to be able to add conference games.
By the way, Free Press story. I'm just reading the headline that I just saw. Michigan State got another 4-star in hoop. By the way, that's like 3 for the 2021 year. That'll all go to the G League. But Bill Beekman's their AD. Michigan State's Bill Beekman. Cutting sports, staff layoffs possible. Michigan State faced with losing $85 million in revenue. Sports.
Right. Which, by the way, I think is disgraceful.
It's a joke.
No offense. Okay.
Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Figure it out. You guys just don't want to. You don't want to make any hard decisions.
Nope.
Make them.
Well,
Show some
they're
leadership.
making easy decisions. We're going to cut lacrosse because it affects 10 people.
Right. We're going to get rid of wrestling because we're not good at it.
Well, that's why I said lacrosse, because they tried it. They were never good. That seems like that's an easy one to kick out.
You know what sport's getting killed during all this? Men's tennis. Nationwide, men's, it's what, nobody cares. But it's become, for the longest time, wrestling was the sport that colleges said, we're not going to wrestle anymore. For Title IX reasons.
Right.
This last year, the sport to drop, that's been the favorite sport to drop, hey, we got to get rid of the men's sport, blah, 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 has been men's tennis. Well, like most people don't realize this, Mark, the SEC does not play men's soccer. They don't. It's not a varsity sport in the SEC. The big, bad, vaunted SEC. For Title IX reasons, they don't play men's soccer.
On the phone, we're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have.
It's actually very surprising, too.
Stock ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
From the best headlines,
The best.
to the worst,
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For the good today, we go to St. Louis, where Paris Williams is only 6, but she's doing more than most of us do to help out her community. She's passionate about feeding the homeless and started her very own nonprofit, Paris Cares Foundation. She's in the first grade, by the way. With help from her parents, she's delivered 500 care packages with food, drinks, and other essentials to the homeless in downtown St. Louis. Mom and dad help with getting the goods, but the little girl fills each of the packages with a personal note or a drawing. She's also donated more than 250 meals to essential workers and has plans to do more. If you didn't feel badly enough about how little you do with your life, I give you one Paris Williams. What a job. Holy cow. For the bad that ends up good, we go to Ireland, where 2 cousins go paddleboarding on Wednesday night, and they vanished. 17-year-old and 23-year-old woman managed to survive while spending 15 hours in the ocean dealing with rain, wind, and thunderstorms. They hold on because they found a lobster pot buoy.
Wow.
And held on until finally they got help from the Coast Guard. Patrick Oliver, a fisherman who's a member of the Galloway Lifeboat Station, and his 18-year-old son found the women, said if he hadn't found them, they would have just kept floating out to sea. And he said they did the right thing by not panicking, keeping their heads clear, and hanging on to that buoy that was attached to fishing gear. They were taken to the hospital where they have been released. What a story. And finally, the ugly. For all of you having fun on online dating site, let me tell you the story of Selena Rivera Atapapka. She was arrested at a Boston hotel after meeting a man and meeting them in a Boston hotel. She whipped out a high-powered pink stun gun, robbed him of a whopping $100, and hit him with a couple charges of the taser. She stole the $100 and has been arrested for armed robbery. Anytime the online date suggests going to the hotel within the first half hour of meeting, I'm going to tell you, it's probably not a good idea.
Right. It's too good to be true.
Yep. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 14th. This is 2020.
Big sports news of today could come out of Gainesville. And no, it's not the University of Florida. It's the FHSAA board meeting. It's going to start in a little over an hour here. Should take about 5-6 hours. They're going to decide whether or not high school football practice is going to start in 10 days or whether or not nothing's going to happen until after Thanksgiving. I mean, I hope it starts in 10 days and that they can pull it off just for everyone's sake, for the schools, for the kids and the parents and what have you. But you know, Mark, there is a part of me fascinated by the idea of football not starting during the rainy and lightning season.
I understand that. I understand that. And David, all of your reasons have a lot of rationale to them. The only one that doesn't is when signing day is. That's the thing that crushes your argument, because everything up until that point I agree with.
I mean, as Adam Fisher pointed out, the early signing period is mid-December, and there are of elite players. A lot of them plan now to early enroll. Now, I hate early enrollment. I actually, if I were the NCAA, I wouldn't allow it. Okay?
I agree.
I want kids to be kids for as long as possible. Your senior year of high school is a very special year. It's your last time because most of us, as we get older, we don't stay in touch with our high school friends. Even now, when you can stay in touch with people more, you move on and you end up staying in touch as you get older with your college friends, more so than your high school friends. It's a very special, as we've all seen, all the senior years that got cut short this past spring. And so I would want kids, you know what, finish out your damn senior year. Get there in May or June. It'll be okay. You don't need to get to the football factory so soon. We're giving you 5 years to play anyway. That's the other thing I would do, Mark, by the way. For football, I just give you 5 years. You can't enroll early, and you get 5 years.
Whether you use them all or not, you can leave after your third. Same rules, 3 years removed from college.
You get 5.
By the way, lots of sports on today, as there is every day. The seniors start at 11 on the Golf Channel. It's their Players' Championship at Bridgestone, and at Firestone, rather. PGA starts at 2, as does the Avs and the Yotes. They're on 2 o'clock today. We got back-to-back. What do we have? NHL Network N? Because there's a 3 o'clock game too, right? Do I have that right? Canadians play shortly thereafter. I mean, we got a long day of hockey ahead of us today.
Yes, we do.
As we do every day, and it's just wonderful.
Final day of the NBA regular season. I just love saying that on August 14th. Final day of the NBA regular season. Hey, get ready, because next year's hockey and basketball seasons are not going to start until December at the earliest. And they're all going to try to get in their regular season games, because that's where the revenue is.
Darn right. Yeah, Yotes and Lanch at 2, Canadians and Flyers at 3, Blues and Canucks at 6:30, Caps and Islanders at 8. That was a battle royal in Game 1. And then Dallas and Calgary late night, 10:30.
And that's the back-to-back for Dallas and Calgary, which is interesting this time of year.
And let's give it up to, sorry, David, let's give it up to Bill G in our Twitch chat room, who says he is day drinking and gambling for the next 3 days.
Oh, my goodness. What a life. What a life. Way to go, Bill.
If I could send the daughter over to my mother's, I'd invite you over, and we'd just do it together and see how much money we could lose until my wife gets back.
Bill, the only way that this day could get better for you, keep drinking, keep watching sports, keep gambling, find a computer screen or something, and make sure you stream the FHSAA meeting for the comments, okay? Because, I mean, they're hysterical sober, but if you're getting liquored up during this day, make sure you take in the FHSAA meeting. It starts at 10 o'clock. I mean, this is a Cape Coral City Council meeting on steroids, is what this is, in terms of the reaction from the peanut gallery. This is outstanding. Just, 2020, Mark. Something we never thought we would say. You know what you need to do? Stream an FHSAA meeting for 5 or 6 hours. It'll be the best entertainment you have all day. Not for the meeting, but just for the comments.
And if Luther Campbell's in there, then look out. Then look out.
Hey, come on now. We wanted Nebraska and or Ohio State to dare the Big Ten and play fall football. I would love it to see what happens if Miami and Dade counties decide, you know what, we're leaving the FHSAA.
Well, look, you and I don't have a problem with any of the conferences per se in college football. We don't like the NCAA, but we don't have this ill will. We don't think the Big Ten made the right decision. We don't think the Pac-10 made the right decision by quitting when they did. But we're not anti-Big Ten or anti-Pac-12. We are, however, anti-FHSAA.
Right.
Wholeheartedly.
But we believed if Ohio State went and did their own thing, most of the rest of the Big Ten would follow. What I'm curious about is, are there other school districts, whether they do it immediately or they do it within a year's time? If Miami-Dade leaves the FHSAA, will like Tampa and Orlando, and will they follow? Heck, will Southwest Florida follow? I'm curious.
The Gong Show begins.
We root for chaos.
And it's coming.
A chance of chaos.
It's coming. It is definitely coming. Hey, we'll get back at it. But back from vacation, pretty solid week of shows, bunch of great guests. We're still gearing up for football. We'll get right at it bright and early Monday morning once again. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. The Dan Patrick Show is coming up next. If you missed any of the show, go to millerandmoulton.com and sign up for our podcast. Have a great weekend on Fox Sports Radio.
All right, you guys have a good weekend. I'll be here on Monday.
All right, Giro, you too, man.
Thanks for everything. Stay safe.
You too.
Thanks, folks. Have a good weekend.